subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Chapter 81, New Rules, Rocky's Goal. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it even if you beat me to death. Kate said helplessly, with a deep shock on her face, in the luxurious room of a five-star hotel. In the living room, Rocky sat cross-legged on the sofa, and the key began to surge continuously, and the majestic key filled the entire room. However, Rocky can now easily control the key. Time flies. In this month, Kate and Rocky stay together, watching Rocky's key increase wildly every day. Until now, finally stopped the growth momentum, but now Rocky's key has reached a point that Kate can't understand. This child is only 9 years old, not even 10 years old at this age. He can have such a terrifying key area. Rocky will certainly become stronger in the future. So how strong will 983 be in the future? Will he surpass the legend of Netero, the president of the Hunter Association? Maybe it's really possible. Kate originally thought that her talent was already very good, but compared with Rocky, Kate felt that she probably belonged to the type of people without talent. At this moment, Rocky was feeling his own energy after the surge. The energy has reached 165,000, which is already the top of the pyramid for the entire Nun world. It's even more amazing than everyone in the brigade. But energy does not mean strength. Modification completed. The interval for the next modification of energy is 90 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Rocky was very satisfied with the effect after the modification, but the prompt that suddenly popped up made Rocky stunned for a moment. What does this mean? The modification of energy needs to be separated by 90 days? Sure enough, there is no cooling time, Luoki sighed. But Rocky was stunned for a moment and looked at other information bars. Try to modify other information columns with your mind. When the modified eye line came out, Rocky almost jumped up with excitement. So that's it. The interval time has changed now. It's not that after modifying it once, you need to wait until the next permission is obtained. Now each information column of the interval time is separated independently. This means that the time Rocky waits, he can only not modify the ability of a certain category, but can modify others. This undoubtedly saves a lot of time. At the same time, it also allows Rocky to make more detailed and thorough modifications according to his own situation. Great! If the amount of mind energy cannot be modified, then you can modify other things. Of course, Rocky has no time to think about which aspect to modify next. Only then can he make himself stronger. What he's going to study now is Phantom Troop. Opening his eyes, Rocky looked at Kate. Okay, my energy should be stable, and there will be no problem next time. Kate nodded mechanically after hearing this. Rocky's words made him speechless. Just because you say there is a problem, it is fine. This is not a joke. If something goes wrong during the battle, it will kill people. Seeing that Kate was still a little worried, Rocky smiled and said, "Don't worry. I won't joke about myself. If I say there is no problem, it is no problem." Okay. Kate could only shrug helplessly. By the way, that thing, Shue Lioli, one of the 7 beauties in the world, should have been delivered. Hearing this, Kate motioned Rocky to look at the big screen in the hotel. This is the detailed map I made these days. This yellow dotted line is the route the transport team will take. These blue squares represent the escorting troops, and there are even professional hunters among them. Professional hunter Rocky was slightly stunned. Does the country have to hire professional hunters to transport things? Kate smiled proudly. Of course, hunters are indispensable. Such valuable things cannot be transported without any mistakes by the army alone. That's right. Hunters in this world are very special, and V5 is the real controller of the Hunter Association. Then do you know what kind of hunters are involved in the escort? I don't know. Even Phantom Troop can be investigated, but not the escort hunter? Kate sighed. I'm a hunter. I investigate news through Hunter's dedicated website. If I investigate other professional hunters, I can't investigate. Unless I am a member of the 12 earthly branches, or the president. This is not incomprehensible. What about the underground network? Kate shook her head. The confidentiality level of professional hunters is still very high. Unless you spend an unimaginable amount of money, it is impossible to know, especially for this level of escort. I am afraid that the people who come are not ordinary professional hunters. So in summary, I know nothing about the professional hunters of the escort team. However, Rocky didn't want to have any ideas about this thing. So professional hunters are not at all. I don't know what Rocky's goal is. Anyway, I'm not trying to steal anything. I just want to deal with Phantom Troop. Tell me, what do you want to do to Phantom Troop, Rocky? Kate looked at Rocky. Let me tell you first, if you want to use the power of these people, or to say that it is absolutely impossible for the two of us to defeat Phantom Troop. Are you pouring cold water on yourself before you even start? Rocky smiled. I know. So my goal from the beginning was not to annihilate all these people, and I don't plan to rely on the power of others. Kate was a little curious. Then what do you want to do? Do I look like I care about money? Rocky looked at the map. I want to ask Phantom Troop for some interest first. At the same time, there's another goal. If possible, I want to see the faces of everyone in the troop with my own eyes. As long as he has seen them, Rocky can find these people through the power of the Flying King Bow. Of course, the probability of tracking only the people he has seen does not exceed 60%. Then add some other information. Then there will be no 2.4 questions. As long as the probability exceeds 60%, it will not work once. Rocky has come 10 times. It is impossible that he will not succeed once. It is nothing more than running a little more. As long as this is done, no matter where the Phantom Troop goes in the future, Rocky can seek revenge on them. See their faces with your own eyes? Kate repeated Rocky's words, saying such a purpose that makes people clueless, so there is probably only one possibility. Rocky can use some ability to deal with them by seeing someone. If this is the case, then this goal is not impossible to achieve. The transport team will arrive in a day, and this is the best location. If we want to take action against the people of the brigade, then we'd better set off in advance. Kate said, pointing to a canyon on the map. This place is a must-go, and it is also the best place to take action. Chapter 82, Krallo's Uneasy Occupation Hunter. Then let's go. Rocky and Kate are ready to act. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, everyone in the Phantom Troop also looked at Krallo. Captain, everyone is finally here. Shall we start? The only person who can be so impatient is Yuvigin. However, it is precisely because of the need for people like Yuvigin to mediate that the people in the troop will not appear to be without motivation. Krallo slowly closed the book, raised his head, and looked at the people below calmly. Although there is no information to indicate what will go wrong with this matter, but he always has a feeling of uneasiness. Maki. Krallo suddenly called Maki's name. Maki stood up after a moment of stunness. What's wrong, Captain? Any instructions? Your intuition is always accurate. Do you think there will be any problems this time? Unexpectedly, Krallo would ask this question. Maki frowned helplessly. Captain, I am not omnipotent. If I can feel everything, then we don't have to wait here. Isn't it better to find the 7 beauties in other worlds directly by feeling 17? Krallo also smiled when he heard it. Yes. How could I suddenly be so stupid as to ask such a question? But the feeling of uneasiness was indeed a bit strange, as if there was and not there. I don't know why. Captain, are you scared? The only one who asked this question was the young man Yuvigin, and Nobunaga smiled beside him. Yuvigin really dares to say anything. Krallo stood up and jumped down from above and came to Yuvigin. We are facing the army this time. So what? Yuvigin looked indifferent, but his smile became even stronger when he heard this. The intelligence said that there are 2 battalions of soldiers cooperating in the escort. Krallo turned his head and looked at the others. Although there are no weapons of mass destruction, rockets, heavy machine guns, and so on should still be equipped. There are armed helicopters escorting in the sky and armored vehicles on the ground. Although there are only 2 battalions of troops, there are also regular troops. Bang! Yuvigin punched the steel beside him and instantly made a fist mark. This is interesting. Leave the 2 battalions to me. Ha ha ha. It is still impossible for Yuvajin to deal with 2 battalions with his strength. After all, they are regular human armies. However, if they're in special terrain, it is not impossible. But for safety reasons, Nobunaga, you, and Yuvajin should be together. As members of the death squad, you need to attract the attention of the army. Nobunaga has no objection to such an arrangement. Okay, leave it to me. I'll clean up this guy's A. Yuvajin frowned. Hey you, what do you mean by that? The two began to bicker, but Krallo continued. The rest is the target of this mission. Shui Lioli, one of the 7 beauties in the world. This thing has been hidden underground before, and it is impossible to steal it, and this is probably the only chance. Once it is transported to the target location, it will be immediately protected by layers of protection. I'm afraid no one will ever see this thing again by then. Krallo squatted down and drew a line on the ground. This is the route for transport. Yuvajin and Nobunaga are responsible for attracting the army's attention. The rest of the people are not idle. Franklin, you are responsible for assisting Yuvajin and others to suppress the other party. Others should also give them some help as much as possible without affecting their own tasks. Phaeton looked at the route. Not only are there troops. Of course, Krallo nodded. There are also professional hunters. Sure enough, Fink said with his hands folded. How many? Paknoda took out a piece of paper with intelligence on it. There are also 7 professional hunters responsible for escorting, including 2 enhancers, 1 conjurer, 1 transmuter, 1 emitter, and 1 manipulator. It is not clear what system the remaining 10 guys are in. The specific names and identities cannot be found. The only thing we know is that there are 7 professional hunters specially hired by the consultant to form a complete team. At this point, the dark colors of the others are not very good. A complete team means that the opponent basically has all kinds of abilities included. Attack assistance, remote control, remote strike, treatment, and even mind removal are possible. The last mysterious guy, who doesn't even know what system the end user is from, is probably a professional mind remover. In the battle, he finally achieved the conditions for his ability and used it directly, but it would be very bad if he encountered a mind remover. Captain, if the opponent is a complete team, then be careful of the opponent's manipulator ability user. Maki said. The others also nodded. Are you worried that the opponent has the same ability as Joe and can directly put Shui Liuli into none and take it away directly? Yes, if that happens, it will be very bad for us. Maki looked at Krallo, and Krallo stood up. This is also what I am worried about, so this time I will take action. I will also join. Hearing this, everyone was stunned for a moment. In the past, although Krallo sometimes took action together, he basically did not take action. This time, Krallo meant that he would do it himself. 7 professional hunters, except for Yuvajin, Nobunaga, and Franklin, who might be responsible for assisting them. We still have 10 people. We have the advantage in numbers. I will be responsible for the manipulator, and the others will try to delay these professional hunters. Don't be too risky if you don't know the other party's ability. Just delay them, and the rest of you will go to grab Shui Lioli. I will make arrangements for the specific situation when the time comes. With insufficient intelligence, there are naturally not many arrangements that can be made. Start the action at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and they will probably arrive at 10 o'clock. Don't act in advance. Franklin said. Krallo smiled and said, just in case if the other party changes the route temporarily, it's better not to act rashly if you are flexible. If the other party's route does not change at all, it also shows another problem, that the other party is very confident. Confidence means strength. The army is not worried. Even if it cannot be completely destroyed, it will be no problem to delay it with Yuvajin and Nobunaga. The problem lies with the 7 professional hunters. The figure hiding in the corner listened to the plan, came to the corner, took out his mobile phone, and sent a message from an angle that no one could see. In a relatively simple restaurant outside the city, the man with silver hair and extremely strong body glanced at the information on his mobile phone. The target is ready to be released. I always feel that this mission is not worthwhile. The other party turned off his mobile phone, picked up a backpack, opened the door, and walked out. At this moment, Rocky and Kate, who had already arrived in the wild, were also making adjustments. And Rocky also clicked on the information panel. Modification completed. Physical condition, excellent. Everything is ready. It depends on tomorrow. Chapter 83. The spider launches a terrifying attack. Time's up. Krallo stood up and said, "Let's go." All the spiders were instantly alert. This time, the target was very strong. Unlike the previous enemies, everyone tried their best to ensure that they were in the most perfect state after a day of adjustment. Otherwise, when it comes to a life-and-death battle, a slight impact will be enough to change the outcome. Thoughts are strange. Not all situations can fully exert all their strength. State is also very important. If the state is not good or the mood or other factors are affected, I am afraid that even 1/10 or 1/12 of their strength cannot be exerted. But if you hold a certain determination and strengthen your beliefs, you can even burst out several times the power. This is thought. In the suburbs, between the mountains, a convoy, led by a black armored vehicle, followed by 7 riot-proof armored vehicles. They are not war armored vehicles, but are equipped with heavy machine guns. This is enough to deal with most situations. After all, it is not a real war, and there is no need to use war armor so crazy. Behind the armored vehicle was a thickened armored off-road vehicle, in which sat soldiers. 5 or 6 armored off-road vehicles followed by large armored trucks. The convoy drove steadily forward, and there were 7 armed helicopters hovering in the sky. We are about to enter the mountainous area. The terrain here is very narrow. Please pass as soon as possible. A guy wearing glasses on the plane, who looked like a teacher, looked at the mountainous area below with a worried look. This place is perfect for a raid. The soldier next to him laughed when he heard this. Raid? Are you kidding? Do you think we're just for show? There are 2 battalions of soldiers here. Unless a country wants to go to war, no one can take away things under so many gun points. The soldier was stunned for a moment. By the way, who are you? You look like a teacher or a lawyer. Why are you in the convoy? The other party smiled when he heard this. I am a professional hunter. Professional hunter? The soldier glanced at the other party. He thought that this weak-looking man could be a hunter. It seemed that if he had the chance, he would also take a hunter license, and become a hunter doesn't seem difficult. The man with glasses adjusted his glasses and then took out his mobile phone to make a call. Teacher, we have arrived at the place you mentioned. It is indeed very suitable for a surprise attack. Whether there will be any problems with this mission depends on the next section of the road. Once this is passed smoothly, the next step is to go to the airship airport in the city and take an airship to the national capital. It is basically impossible to rob things in the air. A large number of armed personnel have been deployed in the national capital, and the threat has basically been eliminated. Now, there's only this last section of the road left. If you pass through here, you can reach the city. In the city, there are a large number of police forces to support, and the danger is much less. I know, you observe carefully and pay attention to your own safety. After hanging up the phone, the man with glasses sighed helplessly. Relax. It's okay, Mr. Hunter. The soldier patted his shoulder. Dang, dang, dang. A series of bullet shooting sounds rang out. The helicopter's glass exploded directly, and the pilot was shot. Instantly dead, the helicopter lost control and crashed into the mountain. At this time, the man with glasses stabilized his body and was ready to jump out of the helicopter at any time, but at this moment he saw a figure through the glass in front of him, jumping down from the mountain. The height is estimated to be nearly 100 meters. A dazzling ball of mind light burst out. This moment is as dazzling as a meteorite falling. Super destruction fist. Boom! Yuvajin, who fell from the sky, smashed hard at an armored vehicle below. Just one punch. While instantly deforming the armored vehicle, the terrifying mind wave tore the armor apart, and the air waves spread on the road from the wolf's bombardment. Instantly, countless rocks and soil were instantly turned into nothingness. The diffused halo directly covered the entire 50-meter range around. Originally, a wide road, a pit with a depth of more than 20 meters appeared directly across the sky. Armored vehicles, trucks, etc. were all blown away by the mind wave. For a while, dust, and smoke rolled. The plane that hit the top of the mountain exploded directly and also emitted thick smoke, but the man with glasses jumped out before the plane hit. After falling, he held his glasses and looked at the scene in front of him in horror. This kind of power, what kind of ability user can burst out such a powerful attack? Even if it is an enhancer, it's too much. As a nun, the man with glasses knew very well that this kind of power required a terrifying force to cause it. Monster. The guy who launched this kind of attack is definitely a monster. Looking up, the sound of machine gun fire is still ringing. Of the 7 helicopters, only 2 have avoided the fire. The remaining helicopters are out of control and falling downwards. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The ground is shaking slightly. The man with glasses has not recovered from the situation of the plane being shot down. Looking back, huge rocks are rolling down from the mountain. In just less than 10 seconds, the convoy is completely stunned. Even if they want to fight back, they don't know where to fight back. The enemy didn't see it at all. After dodging the huge rock, the man with glasses' phone rang again. It was his teacher calling. "Hey, are you not dead?" "No, but the situation is not good." "Teacher, the number of enemies may be a bit too many." "A lot. Just 2 people." "2 people?" The man with glasses was stunned for a moment. What a joke. 2 people can instantly beat the entire convoy into this in 1 second. The voice from the other end of the phone continued to ring. "They're all first-class none. One is an enhancer, and the other should be a transmuter." The enhancer guy is needless to say, his terrifying fist is very destructive, and the other, Nose Zhao, transmuter guy, is equally terrible. Just relying on the telekinesis bullet, they can break the defensive armor of the armed helicopter. Both of them are experts. Telekinesis bullet. If the teacher hadn't said so, the glasses man would have thought it was a real heavy machine gun. If it was a transmuter nun, the ability would be too abnormal. To cultivate the power of their telekinesis bullets to this extent, are they all monsters? Wing. The situation will probably be even worse next time. These rolling stones create many obstacles. The army cannot play a role in such a narrow place. The opponent is a nun, and there should be more than 2 people. Be careful not to die. Wing. Is that Wing? At this time, in the opposite mountain forest, Rocky witnessed everything that happened in the past 10 seconds and also noticed Wing. "Is there anyone you know?" Kate asked. Rocky smiled and said, "I guess so." Chapter 84. The Battle of Top Nun. I didn't expect to meet Wing, who would teach Gon and Killua Nun in the future. However, Wing's strength is not that strong. Even 3 years later, Wing is not a first-class nun. Not to mention now, Wing is at most stronger than a beginner and can be considered as a skilled nin user. "Shall we start?" Kate asked. Rocky shook his head. "It's not the right time yet." The battle had just begun, and the Phantom Troop had only sent out 2 people. Just 2 people took action, and they knocked these people to the ground. This is the power of none. Of course, if the soldiers of these 2 battalions were fully equipped and could be spread out on the ground, then the nun would be in trouble. Maybe they could block bullets, but could they block rockets? It was difficult to close the distance under firepower coverage, let alone cause damage to the army. However, in this kind of terrain where the army cannot be deployed, the vision is poor, and even shooting is difficult, the ability users can be slaughtered at will. This is like street fighting. Even more terrifying than that. Someone has taken action. Kate suddenly spoke, and the remaining 2 combat helicopters in the sky were directly taken care of by Franklin. The double-handed machine guns fired crazily, but his shooting was a surprise attack at the beginning, so the first thing was naturally to defend. But now his position was exposed. Suddenly, groups of baseball-sized bullets in the air bombarded Franklin's position crazily. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions sounded, and Franklin's attack was suppressed. What a strong power. The person who shot should also be transmuter, and his ability is not worse than the opponent's. Although the power is good, the speed is not as good as Franklin's double-handed machine gun. The next second, Franklin rushed out of the smoke, and one hand fired crazily in the direction of the attack, just now. On the other side, the other hand in the air was still crazily firing at the armed helicopter in the air, although it did not directly scrap the helicopter. but it seems that the engine was penetrated and the power of the helicopter is decreasing. This is a first-rate nin user. Although Franklin was suppressed for a short moment, he quickly locked onto the opponent's position and destroyed the target while striking. Judging from the collision of telekinetic bullets, Franklin is obviously better, although he needs 5 or 6 telekinetic bullets to block 1 telekinetic bullet of the opponent. But Franklin's attack frequency is ridiculously high. It seems that the hired professional hunter still can't completely suppress him. Kate sighed. Such a powerful nin user has become a thief. Don't worry, there are still people. Rocky smiled. When Franklin and the opponent were fighting, Futamaru had clearly seen a group of ghost-like ghosts approaching Franklin quickly. Emitter's ability? Or is it the other ability of the transmuter ability user who just attacked? While Franklin was suppressing the opponent's hand with both hands, 2 green lights jumped out of the forest on both sides and attacked Franklin directly. Franklin dodged the attack and looked at the 2 things passing by. It looked like jelly or something else. Marshmallow or something like that. But suddenly, this thing hit the tree, making a sound of decay. No, this thing is very corrosive. Emitter's ability user. However, Emitter's people are not only on the other side. Shalnark is also controlling those soldiers, making them kill each other. Maki, Phaeton, and others have already rushed into the crowd. Boom! With a loud bang, Finks used a back to the sky move to smash a dent in the armored vehicle. 2 punches. The door was deformed, and he grabbed the iron door and pulled it off. However, before Finks could check, a fist came out. In a hurry, Finks could only use all his thoughts to resist, and the next second he was blown away like a cannonball. Such power made Shalnark and Phaeton, who were interfering with the army, turn their heads suddenly. What a powerful fist! Is it an enhancer? Phaeton snorted coldly and rushed towards a car. This car had the thickest armor in the entire convoy, and the person inside was definitely an important person, not Shuei. Naturally, it was necessary to list it as a priority target. But when Phaeton rushed over, a huge black shadow covered him directly. Look up! Phaeton's eyes suddenly shrank. A huge fist hit him in the face. Bang! Phaeton spun wildly in the air, flying backwards for 5 or 6 meters before stopping with a drop of blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Phaeton's face was extremely bad. Good reaction. Concentrate all your thoughts to block the attack in an instant. Otherwise, you would have fallen down with this blow. The voice was very deep, but it was the voice of a woman. Rocky's mouth twitched slightly. Is this Biscuit? No wonder Wing is here. But why is this Bobby Kong in such a place? She is not a bounty hunter, right? Can money make her take action? I'm afraid not. Hunters have very strange tempers, and few guys will really do things for money. Basically, they're based on personal preferences. But now it's even more interesting. Rocky looked at Biscuit, who appeared on the battlefield. With such a conspicuous bag in front of him, it seems that he can take action. Even if the people in the brigade noticed him, they might not have time to take care of him. Thinking of this, just when Rocky was about to take action, suddenly, the helicopter hovered at a height of 10 meters, and suddenly several shadows jumped on it. Biscuit also jumped on the helicopter, and Wing was also taken away. Is this running away? This is not running away, but retreating with Shuei first, but in the air, wouldn't that be? Come down. Franklin fired frantically, but the next second a guy who looked a little thin appeared on the right, grabbed the plane with one hand, and instantly injected his mind into the helicopter. The mind covered the helicopter and blocked the attack of the mind bullet. Looking at the sparks bursting out, Kate's eyes were straight. You are lying. You blocked the attack with Zhou. Hearing this, Rocky frowned. It's not Zhou, but ability. This person's ability should be the ability to inject mind into objects to enhance objects. Enhancer. Enhancer? Hearing this, Kate felt that there was some truth. Otherwise, it would be too ridiculous. Zhou alone blocked this level of telekinesis. How foul is that guy's aura? Look, some of the brigade members are chasing after them. Kate pointed to the ground. Looking in the direction of Kate's finger, Krallo took a few brigade members away and 7 brigade members followed Krallo to chase the helicopter. The remaining brigade members stayed where they were. Because 2 professional hunters did not get on the plane. One transmuter was still entangled with Franklin, and the other was an emitter. Chapter 85. The flashing phantom of the mantis catching the cicada, transmuter's professional hunter, is fighting with Franklin. At the beginning, they were evenly matched, but now they are being suppressed by Franklin. Krallo took away some members of the brigade, including Paknata, Featon, Finks, Shadow, Joe, Number 8, Peeler Lev, Maki, and others. Now there are only Shalnirk, Kubi, Yuvigin, Nobunaga, and Franklin on the battlefield. Yuvigin and Nobunaga are fighting the soldiers. Shalnirk is assisting. Kubi is not far from Franklin, and when Emitter's professional hunter also took action, Kubi appeared and helped Franklin temporarily entangle the opponent. According to this situation, it won't take long for any one of Shalnirk, Nobunaga, and Yuvigin to take a break to support. Then the situation of these 2 professional hunters becomes difficult, and they seem to know that they can't let the enemies gather together. They're trying to solve the opponents in front of them. But it is obviously difficult to do this. Although Kubi is not a pure combatant, there is no problem with simple delay. It is evenly matched with the opponent. And when Franklin is free, these 2 guys will be in trouble. The phantom swords around Rocky have slowly emerged. Looking at the rotating phantom swords, Kate asked, "Are you going to do it?" Rocky nodded. "Who are you going to do first?" Kate looked at Shalnirk, Yuvigin, and Nobunaga. In his opinion, with Franklin and Kubi being held back, it is better to deal with the people here first. Moreover, the distance between the 3 is far, and it takes some time to support each other. If you attack by surprise, there may be a chance to kill with 1 blow. Rocky also looked in the direction of Kate. "My idea should be the same as yours." Kate smiled. "But I don't have any ability that is particularly suitable for sneak attacks." Looking at Kate's appearance, Rocky smiled. "I have it. I will cover you. If you don't kill him with 1 shot, you still need some time. If his teammates come to support, I will be responsible for intercepting him." "Okay." Rocky nodded in agreement. In an instant, Rocky disappeared, and Kate looked at the disappearing Rocky and didn't care and flew straight down. The first target. Naturally, it was the weakest and easiest to deal with among the 3. Shalnirk. Rocky's eyes were fixed on Shalnirk. At this moment, Shalnirk was controlling the soldiers and exchanging fire with the other side. He was hiding in the distance and posed no threat at all. Rocky raised the Fulong King sword, split it into 4, and quickly flew towards Shalnirk. During this process, Rocky used invisibility. The flying Fulong King sword could not be seen at all, unless condensation was used. Kate was basically in place at this moment. Rocky suddenly controlled 2 of the daggers and instantly appeared more than 10 meters in front of Shalnirk, stabbing towards Shalnirk at a very fast speed. Shalnirk also noticed the sudden appearance. Are there any professional hunters? This is the emitter's ability user. Although the flying dagger was very fast, Shalnirk was still able to dodge it. Yuvigin, Nobunaga, be careful. There's another professional hunter. As Shalnirk was speaking, a white light suddenly flashed behind him. When the white crystal exploded and the fragments passed by Shalnirk's eyes, a touch of kindness came with it. The cold suddenly enveloped Shalnirk's whole body. It splashed out from Shalnirk's neck, forming a graceful arc in the air. Rocky's figure intersected with Shalnirk. Shalnirk looked at Rocky in a cloak, who was wrapped up and had no features at all. At this moment, Rocky's cloak fluttered in the wind. Plop! Shalnirk fell to the ground with a deep bloody wound on his neck, and he died instantly. Kill instantly. Kate secretly smacked her lips. This is too terrible. Use the attack to attract attention first. It is hard to notice if there is anything around the body in such a split second of life and death. And Rocky's speed is also amazing. This ability of instant movement is too strong. It is not only used for sneak attacks, but it is also a very difficult ability to deal with in a head-on fight. Kate sighed in her heart. At this moment, Nobunaga and Yuvigin, who noticed Shalnirk falling to the ground, turned their heads and looked in the direction of Shalnirk at the same time. When they saw Shalnark lying in a pool of blood, they were slightly stunned. Shalnark, he was killed instantly. How is it possible? Although Shalnark is an emitter, his combat power is also very strong, especially the life-saving move. The automatic operation mode is activated. The power of the explosion is quite amazing. How could he be killed instantly at this moment, let alone the two of them? Even Rocky was also a little surprised. It went more smoothly than expected. Is this what mind is? Even if you're a powerful master, if you fail to defend yourself, you will be killed instantly. No matter how strong your mind is, it is only mind after all. Your body is still the same flesh and blood. You will be killed by any casual cut, and Rocky mobilized a lot of energy in the last cut. Absolutely 70% of the energy was used for attack. Oh, you dare to attack Phantom Troop. You are looking for death. Nobunaga, who was a little closer, rushed directly towards Rocky's wind direction. After he came to his senses, he noticed Rocky the first time. Nobunaga, who rushed towards Rocky, did not notice Kate hiding behind a huge rock. Kate's crazy clown has started to turn. Suddenly, when Nobunaga rushed over the rock, he felt a hint of killing intent coming from behind him. It was just such a momentary feeling. Nobunaga quickly turned around and chopped directly with the blade. Ding! A crisp collision sounded. Kate was slightly stunned. The sneak attack launched from a blind spot was actually blocked. Puff! The weapon in Kate's hand was like a spear, which directly penetrated Nobunaga's left shoulder. She was originally going to stab his throat, but was blocked by Nobunaga. Nobunaga's eyes were red, and he jumped back hard, and the spear was pulled out of his shoulder. Blood was spilled instantly. Rocky glanced at Nobunaga. Although this guy was injured, it did not affect the battle. There was Yuvajin on the side. It seemed more troublesome to deal with Nobunaga and Yuvajin. 2 minutes, can you block it? Hearing Rocky's words, Kate nodded and said, no problem. After 2 minutes, no matter what happens, you will escape as soon as possible. After saying that, Rocky turned around and jumped, rushing directly in the direction of Franklin. Nobunaga glanced at Rocky's face in a trance. I seem to have seen this face somewhere before. Such a young face. How old is this kid? How could he kill Shalnark in seconds? At this moment, Kate's aura slightly moved. Nobunaga instantly came back to his senses, and the sword broke the minister. A bright white light swept out. Kate frowned, looking at the hair falling on her face. Almost was chopped. This guy is a master with a knife. Chapter 86, Second Target Franklin. Kate exhaled lightly, adjusted her state, and focused her attention. If she was distracted in the face of such a master, she would die. Get out of here. BD. Nobunaga's anger was almost at its limit. The members of the brigade were killed in front of him, and the guy who did it seemed to be rushing towards Franklin. If I remember correctly, there seemed to be 2 professional hunters at that location, fighting with Franklin and Nambai. If the guy who just killed Shalnark went to support, Franklin would be in trouble. Boom, boom, boom. There were continuous roars behind him, which were the sounds of Yuvajin fighting, without his restraint. Those troops were not vegetarians either. Fortunately, the terrain was favorable to Yuvajin, but it would take Yuvajin a lot of time to deal with these people. There was no support for him at all. Nobunaga adjusted his mind form, holding the knife with both hands and staring at Kate. It seems that if you want to support Franklin, you have to get rid of this guy first. At this time, Rocky, who had quickly arrived at Franklin's position, was observing the situation. Emitter's professional hunter was encircling Kubi, while on the other side, Transmuter's professional hunter had been suppressed by Franklin, and Franklin was able to free up his hands to help Kubi, almost 1 person against 2 people. Surprisingly, he was not at a disadvantage at all. The two-handed machine gun is not only powerful, but also very convenient to use. This ability that seems to have no special effects also has no restrictions on its use. It is also very difficult to deal with in this conflict. Rocky's eyes moved back and forth between Franklin and Kubi for a moment. The next second, he locked his eyes directly on Franklin. Although Kubi is easier to kill in comparison, Rocky does not have that much time, and the effect of surprise can only be achieved once. Naturally, he chose to kill Franklin first. Besides, the other spider members have already gone to chase the helicopter, so he can't stay here for too long. Swoosh! A white light fell from the sky, directly in the direction of Franklin. He knocked back Transmuter's professional hunter with one punch. Franklin just wanted to attack with the telekinetic bullets of the double-handed machine guns to cause some damage to the opponent and weaken his combat effectiveness. But the sudden flash of killing intent made Franklin look up suddenly. White light. It's right in front of him. Bang! Franklin's seemingly huge body is very flexible, and he directly stepped back to avoid the attack. At this moment, both the two professional hunters and Kubi were slightly stunned. There are others? The two professional hunters were very confused about who it was. The others should have escorted Shue Lioli, so they shouldn't be their companions? Ding! Suddenly, when everyone was thinking about it, a white crystal suddenly flashed behind Franklin. A dagger flashing with cold light directly pierced Franklin's left arm. Rocky looked at the other party's pierced arm and felt a little sorry. His target was the opponent's neck, but Franklin's reaction was very fast, and his vigilance was higher than Shalnerk's. He was able to react to the attack of the apparition. Franklin's speed and reaction ability were quite impressive. While Rocky was injuring Franklin, the opponent also raised his other hand, with 5 black holes pointing at the sexual accomplice. Da-da-da! The next second, countless bullets were poured out at close range. Rocky jumped off Franklin's arm after being hit by the bullets and kept dodging towards the distance. From time to time, a bullet hit Rocky, but they were all blocked by the automatic defense of the Phantom Sword. Every bullet that seemed to hit Rocky was blocked by the white crystal fragments that suddenly appeared, which made Franklin stunned for a moment. A defensive ability? The two-handed machine guns fired at full power. More bullets were madly suppressing Rocky. According to this situation, even with the defense of the Phantom Sword, it was not a solution to be suppressed all the time. Rocky suddenly increased his speed and shuttled back and forth. The 4 daggers transformed from the Fulong King Sword were approaching Franklin rapidly from behind under Rocky's control. Behind, Kubi suddenly spoke, and Franklin did not hesitate at the first time. He pointed one hand behind him, and the moment his eyes moved over, he locked onto the 4 white daggers. He fired directly, and the bullet knocked down the flying daggers in the air. But on the other side, Rocky also took advantage of this gap to get rid of the coverage of Franklin's bullets. Yiksha King's Sword. The moment the giant sword appeared, Rocky spun quickly, gathered his spiritual energy on the blade, and threw it directly at Franklin through the air. Franklin turned around and looked at the flying giant sword. Sword, is it used like this? Franklin was slightly stunned, but his hands did not slow down at all. The two-handed machine guns fired quickly, with full firepower. Under the impact of the spiritual bullet, the Yiksha King's sword only maintained a distance of 5 or 6 meters before being knocked down and inserted diagonally into the ground. At this moment, Franklin did not see Rocky's figure. Suddenly, the Yiksha King's sword disappeared. It disappeared out of thin air in front of everyone's eyes. White crystals fell in the air. At the same time, 4 whirlwinds appeared around Franklin, and the high-speed, rotating daggers cut towards Franklin like flying discs. It was too late to knock them down with the spiritual bullet bombardment, and only 2 of them could be knocked down. But the next second, a dagger passed by his face, and Franklin's eyes shrank rapidly. Fortunately, he dodged it. Another dagger was coming towards his knee, but he just dodged it by rotating his body horizontally. But suddenly, Franklin heard the sound of glass breaking. A face that looked extremely young, appeared, and the fluttering cloak blocked the light. A dagger was directly inserted into his right shoulder. Franklin's eyes narrowed, and he punched out directly. Swoosh. The figure disappeared again, and Rocky, who was crouching on the ground, turned his body while grabbing another dagger with his hand and stabbed Franklin's hamstring directly. Blood spurted out. Rocky stretched out his hand and grabbed the 3rd dagger. The moment this action was completed, he had already used the phantom shift to move to the dagger that was hit. The other 3 daggers flew back one after another, forming a complete Fulong Wang sword in Rocky's hand. At this moment, Franklin, who had landed, had a slight 3.5 twitch at the corner of his mouth, and his shoulders, arms, and calves were bleeding continuously. He stared at the kid, who suddenly appeared with a gloomy look. In less than 10 seconds of fighting, he was able to hurt himself continuously. That ability to disappear and appear instantly. Too scary. There was no way to react. However, Franklin did not hesitate at all in this second. If the ending was death, then he would not just do nothing. Bang! His hands were like the racks of a turret, stepping directly into the ground. And at the same time, the machine guns in both hands were in place again. Da-da-da-da. More violent firepower poured out. Countless telekinetic bullets were fired crazily in all directions. I won't be killed by you so easily. Let's see who is faster, you or my telekinetic bullets. Franklin's roar sounded in the forest chapter 87. The Yasha King's sword attack Nabinaga raised his head and looked in the direction where the voice came from. Franklin, Nabinaga looked down at Kate in front of him with a gloomy look and was furious. This guy just dodged blindly, not intending to attack at all, and dragged him to prevent him from leaving. What a hateful guy. Yuvajin, who was fighting with the army and had slaughtered no less than 100 people, grabbed a soldier with one hand, and with the grip of one hand, he directly twisted the opponent's helmet into a dough. The soldier's head naturally turned into meat paste. Franklin's voice. These professional hunters are really interesting. Yuvajin is no longer as crazy as before, but seems to be very calm. Because he had noticed Shalnert's body before. Boom, boom, boom. Although many people were slaughtered by Yuvajin at this moment, the army was not afraid, but seemed to have aroused their anger. Bullets continued to pour, and artillery fire was dispatched more regularly. Yuvajin couldn't get away for a while. If he didn't block it, then Nabinaga and the others would be under more pressure. It would be bad if he got entangled at that time. On the other side, there were constant stares. However, this was not the sound of real guns, but the sound of Franklin's two-handed machine gun. Countless bullets were fired wildly in all directions. Emitter's profession Hunter released his puppets and blocked Franklin's indiscriminate attack in front. Kubi also hid behind the stone. The only one who didn't dodge at this moment was Rocky. Powerful ki burst. The phantom sword accelerated the rotation, and the weapon in the white crystal state surrounding Rocky appeared in front of Franklin. What kind of ability is this? It can actually have the ability to defend. At this time, Rocky raised his hand and grabbed the Yasha King sword that was rotating in front of him. His eyes were fixed on Franklin's figure. As expected of a member of the brigade, Transmuter's ability to practice to this level is already at the top level. The two-handed machine gun seems to have only one ability, but it is used up completely. After strengthening the output of ki, the shooting of the two-handed machine gun is more unstable, and the bullets fly everywhere. In this way, the attack range of the two-handed machine gun is expanded like a scattered single. In this case, even if the Phantom Sword is controlled to perform phantom displacement again, this guy will probably react. As long as Franklin fires bullets at the approximate position, the scattered bullets can also hit Rocky. So don't even think about getting close. However, even if you don't get close, Rocky is not without means. If the distance is farther, then using the Fei Wong Bao is a good choice. But at this close distance, taking out the Fei Wong Bao itself has no key protection. Once the defense of the Phantom Sword is broken, it will be bad. This is the time for the Yasha King sword to play. For medium and short-range battles, this weapon should be the most suitable. In close combat, due to the longer blade of the Yasha King sword, it can ensure that the distance is not too close, just like a spear. And you can also release telekinetic bullets at a distance. Rocky raised the Yasha King sword in his hand, holding the hilt with both hands, and it looked like a giant sword used by a heavy knight. At this moment, it felt more like a sniper's foot in Rocky's hand. The tip of the sword was aimed at Franklin. The next second, 3 white light balls flew out directly from the Yasha King sword and flew straight towards Franklin. When the light balls flew out, the telekinetic bullets hit it, and Franklin immediately felt something was wrong. 9. Mind bomb? This guy actually dared to use mind bomb to counterattack me? What a joke, judging from the attack just now. Rocky should be an emitter or manipulator. But the ability of teleportation is like that of a transmuter. No matter what, even if Rocky is also a transmuter, Franklin is quite confident in his transmuter ability. He will definitely not lose to Rocky. The crazy mind bombs kept shooting at Rocky's mind bombs. The corners of Rocky's mouth rose slightly. I have already used apparition and successfully hit this guy. So that means that the mind bomb attack of the Yasha King's sword is now guaranteed to hit. Although the flying speed is a little slower, not as good as Franklin's mind bomb. But Rocky's attack is guaranteed to hit. 3 groups of mind bombs easily passed through the firepower net under Franklin's crazy firepower output. Directly hit Franklin's body and the mind bomb exploded. A bullet hit Franklin's left hand, and the left arm was blown off. Fortunately, Franklin used his thoughts to protect other parts of his body in time. There were only holes in his abdomen and left shoulder, and the blood was flowing, but it did not cause fatal injuries. But Franklin's injuries were already terrible. His fighting power was greatly reduced. Franklin, who knelt on the ground, spit out blood and looked up at Rocky, not understanding a kid so young. Why is the power so strong? What is his thoughts? And this face is so familiar, too familiar. At this moment, such a scene appeared in the eyes of the 2 professional hunters, making them look incredible. They knew how strong Franklin was as an opponent who had fought before. And such a kid, he suppressed the opponent with one move, and even when the opponent exploded, he could instantly injure him. This is too perverted. Where did this monster come from when he fell to the ground? Rocky walked towards Franklin. Franklin looked at his left hand that was blown off, and suddenly a light flashed in his eyes. He lost his hand and lost his 2-handed machine gun, but maybe now is the time to use a 1-handed rocket launcher. He raised his broken arm, and his mind energy instantly gathered 930. Franklin believed that breaking his fingers could enhance the power of the 2-handed machine gun. In fact, because of his inexplicable trust, his ability was indeed enhanced. Now that Franklin has lost his palm, he believes that the power of the bullet released again will definitely surpass the 2-handed machine gun. But the moment he accumulated his mind, the Yasha King's sword pierced his throat instantly, and the Yasha King's sword that penetrated his throat directly threw him to the ground. At the moment Franklin wanted to fight back, Rocky threw the Yasha King's sword in his hand directly, and the speed was obviously faster than Franklin. Franklin's energy gradually dissipated, and the subsequent 1-handed rocket launcher was still unable to be released. 583. As a transmuter, this professional hunter couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Franklin, who was suppressing him and beating him like a monster just now, now he was defeated. This is too fast. Looking at the time, from the beginning to now, this kid appeared for only 1 minute, and he killed a first-class nun master just like that. KR. The 2 professional hunters opened their mouths to ask something. Suddenly, the Yasha King's sword disappeared, and at the same time Rocky looked at Kubi, who was hiding nearby, and was also surprised. He ignored him and jumped directly to Kate's direction. Kate is in danger. Nobunaga is attacking Kate frantically without caring about his life. Chapter 88. Flying Kings bow. Rocky's judgment. Rocky could vaguely feel that Kate's energy had become much weaker. If Kate continued, it would not be impossible, but if she delayed a little longer, even if Kate successfully blocked Nobunaga for 2 minutes, then her own condition would not be very good, and there was even a risk of being killed. Nobunaga's crazy outburst, a first-class nun's anger outburst, is not so simple. Even the top nun must be careful, otherwise they cannot guarantee their own safety. Not to mention that Kate's current strength is still a little worse than Nobunaga. If it is Kate in a few years, then there will be no problem. For Kate's sake, Rocky can only temporarily give up killing Kubi. Anyway, there are still 2 professional hunters, and Kubi's strength should be no problem for the 2 of them to deal with together. Even if he can't kill this guy, it doesn't matter. Leave it to himself to solve it. Kubi can kill it at any time. A white stream of light flashed in the sky, and it quickly swept towards Kate's direction. Rocky directly activated the ability of floating shadow. Below, Kate's body was already red in many places, and the infiltrated red blood had wet a lot of clothes. still barely holding on, but Nobunaga's knife was fast, and he closed the distance with Kate to about 4 meters. Every knife of Nobunaga seemed to be able to tear a hole in Kate's body. Kate waved the spear in her hand, which should be one of the weapons of the crazy clown. Although she could block the attack, she was not completely blocked. Tear. The right shoulder and elbow were cut by Nobunaga's knife again, as if he wanted to cut Kate's tendons, but Kate avoided the key position. You can't hold on. BD, die for me. I will use your head to sacrifice to Shalnark. The knife flashed, and the samurai sword in Nobunaga's hand instantly tore through the air, bursting out a strong airflow/wave. It's not relying on thoughts, but on air. It's no wonder that Kate couldn't completely block such an attack. Ding! The moment Nobunaga drew his knife, the star-destroying splashed out. His eyes suddenly shrank. Look up. The sword of the Sage King stuck straight into the ground, blocked the way ahead. A hand was placed on his shoulder, and then the other party seemed to follow his shoulder and completed a flip, jumping over him from behind. The next second, Rocky appeared in front of him, holding the sword of the Sage King in one hand. He pulled it out, and the burst of energy repelled Nobunaga. Kate behind him looked at Rocky, who suddenly appeared, and was shocked at first, then smiled helplessly. The agreed time had not yet arrived. Rocky appeared here. Either Rocky had killed his enemy, or Rocky was dragged down because of his own reasons. His own practice was still not enough, and he didn't expect that he could still be a burden now. How dare you come back? I was thinking of getting rid of that guy, and then looking for you. Brat, one step. The ground suddenly shook, and the flying gravel shot out to the back. Nobunaga rushed towards Rocky regardless of everything. However, at this moment, the sword of the Sage King disappeared, and Rocky raised his hand, and the flying king bow appeared. Holding the longbow in one hand, both ends are like guns. Stabbed directly at Nobunaga. Nobunaga snorted coldly, and the tip of the knife collided with Rocky's Feiwang bow, and sparks burst out. Flashed out instantly. Nobunaga's face showed joy. I just went head-on with my enhancer self. I'm dead. Boom buzz. Nobunaga's figure slid backwards rapidly, sliding more than 10 meters before stopping. Nobunaga, who stabilized his body, raised his head and looked forward in disbelief. Impossible. As an enhancer, the head-on collision was suppressed. Seeing Rocky switch weapons, this guy should also be a manipulator user. Why? A manipulator user can be more powerful than himself in the power of mind? Is there something strange about that weapon? Nobunaga, who was still in doubt, suddenly narrowed his eyes slightly. Rocky raised the Feiwang bow in his hand high, and a flashing blue light emerged. The condensed arrow of thought was aimed directly at his forehead. Whoosh! An arrow was shot instantly. Nobunaga quickly dodged to the right, and the arrow of thought condensed almost flew past his cheek. At this moment, Nobunaga's heart was shaken violently. How so fast? Such a fast arrow. Even Franklin might not be able to match this speed. And the power of the arrow, bang, bang, bang. 5 or 6 huge rocks behind him were penetrated instantly, and the rocks suddenly shattered into countless small stones. This power, once hit, you will probably be killed directly. This monster boy. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Rocky pulled the bow and arrow continuously, and shot 3 arrows in almost 1 second. 2 arrows were dodged, but the third arrow hit Nobunaga's Takeda sword head-on. Nobunaga, who held the samurai sword in front of his chest with both hands, was forced back more than 20 meters by an arrow, and stopped only after hitting a huge rock. When the dust cleared, Nobunaga looked up at Rocky. Transmuter's attack. How could it be so powerful this guy should be a manipulator? But how could the Transmuter's ability reach such power at the moment? What kind of system is this guy? Nobunaga. Remember the Kuruta tribe? Nobunaga's face changed when he heard this. No wonder he felt that this guy looked familiar. So, this guy was the kid from the Kuruta tribe at that time. Revenge. It's only been a year since the Kuruta tribe was destroyed. In a year, that kid has become what he is now. What kind of perverted talent is this? If this kid continues to grow, how strong will he become in the end? Nobunaga didn't dare to think about it anymore. Kate, you go first. Hearing this, Kate wanted to say that she could continue to fight, but she felt Rocky's terrifying mental fluctuations. Forget it. It seems that it's okay to leave it to Rocky, as long as you keep your distance. And Rocky's choice is also very correct. Just after exchanging one move with the opponent, he understood the best way to fight. Choosing a weapon like a bow, an arrow, and keeping a distance from the opponent, Rocky probably guessed that Nobunaga's fighting method can only be close combat, and he must get close to the target. As long as the distance is guaranteed, Rocky will be invincible. This kid may not have enough combat experience, but his mind and observation skills are terrible. Turning around, Kate left directly. At this time, Rocky pulled the bow again, but this time the flashing arrow was not a blue arrow. The blue one is the view of annihilation. And now the flashing light is red. The arrow that must hit. Rocky touched it before Nobunaga's shoulder was not just for the purpose of climbing over. This arrow is a judgment on you. Spider. Rocky said this with a stronger tone. Red light flashed. Quick, an arrow faster than the arrow of annihilation. Nobunaga retreated madly and quickly changed his position. But the arrow changed its trajectory in the air and penetrated Nobunaga's right shoulder instantly. The blood flower burst out, accompanied by the sound of Nobunaga falling to the ground and sliding. Chapter 89, Crisis of the Red Arrow Spider Blood. Nobunaga, lying on the ground, looked at the blood flowing in front of him. It was his blood. The pain came from his right shoulder. He had forgotten what it felt like the last time he was injured. I didn't expect it. Today, he would experience this feeling again in the hands of a little devil. If it were an ordinary nun, he would be terrified and scared at this time. But the people in the brigade were different. At this moment, Nobunaga had an unknown anger rising wildly. Angry. Nobunaga felt extremely angry now. A mere little actually embarrassed him so much. It was a great shame that he had never experienced before. Stand up. Rocky didn't care what Nobunaga was thinking. The second arrow that was sure to hit was already on the bow. The flashing red cross was aimed at Nobunaga. Swoosh! Another arrow was shot, and the red arrow rushed straight to Nobunaga's arm. At this moment, Nobunaga swung the blade and focused on slashing at Rocky's arrow. The moment the two collided, the mind energy exploded with amazing fluctuations, and the red light and the golden light intertwined. Nobunaga's left hand holding the knife was shaking constantly, and his mind was colliding with Rocky's mind. Although it was wrapped in the air, his knife seemed to have begun to crack. The light became stronger and more dazzling. After a stalemate of 10 seconds, bang! The moment the 317-long knife was blown away, the red arrow pierced into the right shoulder again. Nobunaga kicked the ground with his legs and kept retreating, leaving 2 long scratches on the ground. And at the same time, a puff of smoke was raised. In Rocky, but he didn't care about Nobunaga's screams and what state he was in now. His eyes flashed red from time to time. He drew the bow and arrow again and repeated the previous action, aiming in the direction of Nobunaga. The red light flashed again. Although the shooting part was still the locked right shoulder, Nobunaga's forehead was sweating coldly at this moment. KR. Swoosh. The third arrow also pierced Nobunaga's right shoulder, and even the position did not change much. But this time, Nobunaga froze in place. His ki was easily torn apart by Rocky's attack, and he could no longer feel the existence of his right arm. Looking at the broken arm slowly rotating in the sky and finally falling to the side, Nobunaga's eyes became empty. Gone. It's still the most important right arm for a swordsman. This is more painful for him than killing him. Rocky continued to pull the bowstring. This is a good opportunity. Nobunaga, who was in a daze, gave him the last blow. The arrow that must hit can no longer be used. The opponent's right shoulder has been completely destroyed. Now, he can only switch to the blue arrow, the arrow of extinction. However, the moment the arrow was shot, Rocky frowned. A huge fist with a strong mind appeared directly in front of Nobunaga and smashed at Rocky's arrow of extinction. The collision of the two forces only caused the opponent to take a step back, but Rocky's arrows were directly dispersed. The shock wave formed by the collision of the mind energy directly caused the surrounding ground to crack. A burly figure appeared. Yuvigin. Rocky looked at Yuvigin's figure from a distance. The group of soldiers had been almost dealt with by Yuvigin. The energy on this guy had weakened a lot, which showed how desperate Yuvigin was just now, whether it was to block his arrows or to deal with a group of soldiers. Nobunaga, what are you doing sitting on the ground? Are you waiting to die? Yuvigin's voice awakened Nobunaga, who slowly stood up. Nobunaga tore off his clothes and temporarily bandaged the wound on his arm, to avoid losing too much blood and too much physical strength. Take a short break. I have rested enough now. I will make this little devil live a life worse than death. He came to the side and picked up the long sword that fell on the ground. Yuvigin and Nobunaga both looked at Rocky at the same time. This is a bit of a headache. The arrow just now did not kill Nobunaga, and Yuvigin actually ran out to get in the way. If Nobunaga was killed just now, then it would be okay to fight Yuvigin now. 1-on-2 is a bit difficult. If Rocky met these two guys alone under other circumstances, then a battle would be nothing, and Rocky also believed that he would definitely win. But not now. The other members of the brigade, bye-bye, have already rushed towards the direction of the city. If they fight with the escorting professional hunter, it will be a good opportunity for Rocky to take action. Even more can be killed. Not just two people. Kate has already run away. There are still soldiers from the army gathered behind. Rocky looked at the two men who had regrouped. He put away the flying king's bow in his hand and smiled. It seems that this time we have to stop here. Want to run? Yuvigin burst out directly, rushing towards Rocky like a wild bear. However, although Yuvigin was very fast, Rocky didn't care too much. When Yuvigin came in front of Rocky, Rocky had already flown up and punched the air directly. Yuvigin looked up at Rocky in the sky. His eyes popped out. He didn't expect Rocky to be able to fly, which was even more fatal. Rocky, who had the advantage in the air, was even more difficult to deal with. But Rocky didn't do anything, just glanced at the two. Don't worry, I will come to you soon, and none of you can escape. I will let you and the Shalnark members spiders. It doesn't matter if you lose one or two legs, I have to send you all down together. Rocky said, and instantly turned into a white light and disappeared. Looking at Rocky disappeared, and the two were in a bad mood. It was not that Rocky was afraid of them. With the ability to fly, the two would not have an advantage if they really fought. And now Rocky's departure made the two even more worried. Why did this guy suddenly leave? Yuvigin was a little confused. Why didn't he fight when he had the advantage? Was he just scared by the advantage in numbers? This situation shouldn't happen. How could a man who could easily break Nobunaga's arm and kill Shalnark in seconds run away? That direction is the direction of the captain and his men. This guy wants to. At this point, Yuvigin understood what Nobunaga said next. Damn, this guy doesn't dare to fight me. Now it's not a question of fighting or not, but the soldiers around have surrounded them. Yuvigin's departure gave them time to reorganize their formation. Now the situation is more complicated. On the other side, Rocky found Kate. Kate, who was rushing towards the city, looked at Rocky, who suddenly fell from the sky. Has it been resolved? This speed is too fast. I just fought for so long and couldn't resolve the opponent at all. How could Pikey be so fast? No, but I broke one of that guy's arms. Rocky took out the Holy King's staff and floated in front of Kate out of thin air, releasing green light. Immediately, Kate felt that the wound on her body was healing rapidly, and she felt numb. Pulling open the clothes and witnessing the healing of the wound with her own eyes, it was even more surprising. You still have this ability? This ability is thanks to Jean. Chapter 90, The Thief and Hunter Chase, begins watching the wounds gradually heal, although there are still some deeper wounds that have not completely recovered. But it's almost done. At least the impact on Kate has been reduced to a very small extent. Rocky put away the Holy King's staff. Okay, your injury should not be a big problem. Kate moved her arm and nodded. Indeed, I feel much better. Not enough time, if there is enough time. It is not a problem to help you recover completely, Rocky said, and turned to look in the direction of the city. Seeing this, Kate also understood. Then let's go. Rocky smiled. No, you go back first. According to Kate's speed, it would probably be useless even if she chased after them. And the other group of spiders has more enemies. Rocky has more opportunities and does not need Kate's help. If Kate encounters danger, it will distract Rocky, and there is no need for Kate to continue to act together. After a few seconds of silence, Kate looked up at Rocky. I know, be careful. Yeah, Rocky turned into a white light again and flew towards the sky. Disappeared in front of her eyes in a blink of an eye. Kate clenched her fists gently. Did she almost become a burden because of her lack of strength? It seems that she has not practiced enough. Otherwise, she will become a burden to others next time. Compared with Rocky, she is much older than him. However, Rocky not only has a huge amount of energy, but also has very strong abilities. Moreover, Rocky's abilities are somewhat similar to his. They are both manipulators, and they also materialize weapons. The difference is that his weapons are selected by the crazy clown, while Rocky's weapons are selected by himself. Logically, Rocky's abilities should not be very powerful. However, Rocky's weapons are obviously too powerful. As Jin's disciple, Kate knows very well how to achieve that level. What a price you paid to get such an ability. Rocky. On the other side, the members of the brigade chasing the helicopter certainly cannot compare with the helicopter in terms of speed. But the people of the brigade are not without solutions. Taking advantage of the terrain, they successfully took a detour and jumped down from a high place, shooting down the helicopter that was about to fly out of the mountain. However, because of this, the hunters successfully brought Shui Lioli to the plain area, which was only a short distance away from the destination. Contact the guards in the city and ask them to come to support. After landing, the professional hunter immediately contacted the outside and asked for support. The support will arrive in about 15 minutes. Although the support is just some ordinary people, the guards with guns are already a very good combat force. It is enough to help delay time. There are now 5 people left in the 7-person professional hunter team. 2 enhancers, 1 conjurer, and 1 manipulator, all of whom are capable people of the Shurjo system. Among the 2 enhancers, one is Wing, who is a disciple of Biscuit and also joined this operation. Another professional hunter of enhancer, wearing a special modern armor and carrying a long stick on his back, seems to be a capable person of the same type as Nabinaga. Although he is an enhancer, he chose to enhance the weapon's attack power. The conjurer is naturally Biscuit. Manipulator Hunter and Special Hunter both look a little thin. And the manipulator took out a small bag and looked at the contents. What should we do now? The enemy will catch up in 2 minutes. The helicopter was destroyed, so there is no way to get rid of the phantom troop behind by relying on the legs. Biscuit glanced at Wing and said, "You go with him first, and the others, and I will be responsible for holding them back." The manipulator's ability user glanced at Wing and said, "Let's go." There are 3 people left. Biscuit saw several shadows approaching from a distance. There are more people than I thought. If we fight together, we'll be more passive. Escape separately and create an illusion to force them to make a choice. After saying that, Biscuit changed direction and quickly fled. The other 2 also chose a direction to escape. These guys, damn it, the chasing brigade member Maki cursed. These guys fled separately. Finks looked at Krallo. "Captain, what should we do now?" However, Krallo looked at the direction in which these people fled separately. 5 people fled in 4 directions. This is a bit wrong. If it is a normal situation, if you want to flee separately to increase the probability of escape, then the 5 people should be divided into 5 different directions. But it is also possible that the other party deliberately let one of them go with another person. Let them be the team escorting Shui Lioli, so as to make a wrong judgment and let the other guys who really took Shui Lioli escape successfully. 0, but this is psychological warfare. No matter what you choose in this situation, there will be problems. Separate and chase. Krallo turned and looked at Feeton and Finks. You 2 each choose a target to chase. Maki and Feeton, Paknada and Finks, Peeler and Joe in one group. Minying you, and I'll go together. This arrangement seems a bit unreasonable in terms of combat power, but no one refuted it. Instead, Minying looked at Krallo with some surprise. It seems that he doesn't quite understand why Krallo asked him to act with him. In terms of combat power, He is not weaker than Phaeton and Finks, and there is no problem at all if he acts alone. But Krallo arranged it this way. Minning couldn't help but wonder, did this guy know about his affair? Let's go. Krallo aimed at Biscuit's direction and felt that the guy was the strongest one. Krallo felt that the strongest person was more likely to escort Shue Lioli. Finks chased Enhancer Hunter. Phaeton chased the special ability user. Peeling Lev chased Wing. Krallo and Minning chased Biscuit. Once they caught up, except for Wing's team, every other hunter would have to fight 1-on-2. Facing a master like Phantom Troop, with a number gap, the possibility of winning is basically close to zero, and it is already amazing to be able to survive. Soon after they separated and chased separately, Rocky had already appeared in the sky, looking at the members of the brigade scattered in 4 directions. Each team is still a group of 2. This made Rocky very excited. This is his chance. However, Rocky's vision is wider in the sky, and he can also notice things that the members of the brigade don't notice. For example, in the direction of Biscuit, Rocky saw a familiar guy, Hisoka. This guy was standing on the roof of a resident's house, looking into the distance. On the other side, there was also a sneaky figure in the direction of Wing. The other party was well hidden, but Rocky still saw it. Seeing the figure of that guy, Rocky frowned slightly. At this time, at this place, Rocky no longer had to guess who could appear. Silva Zoldyck. Is it really the brigade number 8 who assassinated at this time? Chapter 91. Pick the softest persimmon. Rocky probably saw everyone in the brigade. Phaeton and Maki were in one group, Finks and Paknata were in one group, and Krallo seemed to be with Minning. This distribution made Rocky a little confused, but there was no time to think about the reason. Since it was such a distribution, of course the persimmon had to be squeezed softly. Phaeton's ability was unforgivable. The more serious the injury, the stronger the ability was. It was a very difficult ability. In Rocky's opinion, the power of this nun mainly depended on resentment. The so-called resentment was a restriction and oath, which was different from ordinary abilities. The power could not be compared with normal nun, and no one could say how much power it could explode. So it was obviously difficult to deal with the combination of Phaeton and Maki. Rocky would not ignore these people just because his nun energy was far greater than theirs. The world of Nun looked at the combat power of 210, not only on the strength of Nun energy. The Nun energy determined the lower limit, but Nun and the specific situation determined the upper limit of combat history. A person with only tens of thousands of Nyen Ki can easily defeat a person with abilities that are several times or even dozens of times stronger than him, as long as his abilities can restrain the opponent. Finks and Paknota. Needless to say, the latter is not strong in combat, and his abilities are more auxiliary. But Finks is different. The power of his ability to turn back the sky increases with each rotation of his arm. I don't know if this guy has an upper limit. With Paknota's long-range attack harassment, it is not impossible to successfully attack. So this group is not considered. The combination of the leader and the shadow has problems at first glance. Besides, the abilities of the 2 guys are not weak, and their strength is quite strong, so they're even less considered. Then there is only Striplev. This guy's ability is Sonic Attack, and this attack is actually quite restrained for Rocky, but it seems to be restrained by Rocky. The restraint is that the Sonic Attack is an indiscriminate large-scale attack with no dead angle. Rocky's Phantom Shift will also be greatly affected if he wants to perform it. But the reason why he was restrained by Rocky was that Rocky had many weapons, and the Fei Wong Bao was the best weapon to deal with this guy. Ultra long-range attack could make this guy helpless, although the sound wave attack has a large range and no dead angle. But the farther the sound wave spreads, the less powerful it is. This is beyond doubt. As long as he keeps a distance, peeling Lev is just a toy for Rocky. Of course, getting close is not impossible. After all, Rocky can contact the opponent first and leave a mark on the opponent's body, and the opponent will not be able to dodge the arrow that will hit him. After making a decision, Rocky directly activated the floating shadow ability again and rushed towards peeling Lev. At this moment, Wing and the manipulator ability user were about to be caught up. The strength of both of them was not stronger than the members of the brigade, Although they were professional hunters and were able to be favored by Biscuit, they were all very capable. But that was all. Oh no, they're chasing us. Wing was sweating profusely at the moment. If he was caught up, he would be miserable. His fighting ability was not strong at all, even though he was a so-called enhancer. The manipulator frowned and said, "Damn it." He glanced at Wing and said, "You go first." As he was saying this, Peeling Lev in the distance had already taken off the bandage on his left hand. "I can already interfere with this distance." He opened his left arm, and the terrible holes on his left arm were shocking. As Peeling Lev ran quickly, the wind passed through these holes, making a strange sound. The speed of the sound seemed to be faster than the running of the nun. The sound directly made the two people in front suddenly stop moving. Not good. What kind of ability is this? Wing stumbled and fell directly. Joe, who was traveling with Peeling Lev, had already covered his ears and was less affected as he was prepared. Silva, who was hiding in the dark in the distance, did the same and immediately covered his ears with both hands before he realized something was wrong. He was not affected. Rocky in the air also stopped his mind energy and covered his whole body and was not affected. But after such a moment, Peeling Lev and Joe blocked Wing and the manipulator's ability, user one after another. "Do you still want to run away?" "You can't run away now," Peeling Lev said, glancing at the two of them. His eyes fell on the professional hunter of the manipulator. "Oh!" Wing stood up and was alert to the people behind him, and cold sweat kept sliding down his face. "Wing, you have to rely on yourself now. Be careful. Is the name of this manipulator." Bang! Suddenly, Joe took action and punched Wing. As a manipulator, Joe should not have chosen this way of fighting. But seeing that Wing's ki was so weak, he didn't even want to use his ability. Wing was hit by a punch, even though he determined the location of the opponent's attack in advance and used the flow of mind energy to defend. But he still fell to his knees and kept coughing and vomiting the contents of his stomach. So weak, can such a guy be considered a professional hunter? Wing wanted to be a bounty hunter, but at this moment all Wing's thoughts were cut off. The enemies faced by bounty hunters are too terrifying, and he is not suitable for this profession at all. If possible, he just wants to be a doctor or lawyer in peace in the future. "I don't want to face these monsters anymore." Sighed helplessly. This junior is really... it's hard to describe. Although he has good talent, he is too timid. If he had a stronger will, the attack just now might not have hurt him. Unfortunately, his own fear affected his mind. He felt that he was vulnerable, so the power of his mind became too weak. "I really didn't expect to solve one so quickly." Flake Lev was also surprised, but he was removing the bandages, but his eyes were fixed on This guy is much stronger than the one on the ground, but it seems that he is not a person with the ability to release or conjurer. Operation or manipulator. For point 4, the latter is more likely. Just untying the bandages on both hands, Peeling Lev started to attack directly. As his body swayed, strange sounds came. "Do you have the things?" Flake Lev asked, and nodded. "Yes, it's here." "Do you want to take it?" As said. He raised his hand, and a small pocket appeared in the manipulator. "If I die, this thing will disappear." After hearing this, Peeler Lev paused slightly. If this is true, then it's not good. When the ability user dies, the ability will naturally disappear. But whether the thing will disappear with the ability, Peeler Lev dare not gamble, hand over the thing, or I will kill him. Joe grabbed Wing from the ground, pinched Wing's neck, and looked at Chapter 92. Remember to confess the unexpected alliance. This is going to be difficult. Although this mission is very important, the safety of the companions is equally important. You don't have that much time to think. I'll give you 2 seconds now. If you want to live, just throw the thing over, otherwise. As he said this, Joe's hand suddenly exerted force. Wing's face suddenly turned red, and he couldn't breathe at all and wave his hands randomly. Was helpless to see this scene. If Wing was calmer, he would find that he could use it himself and maybe break free from the opponent's control. But now he obviously has no idea at all, because he has completely lost the ability to think because of fear. After counting 2 numbers, Joe didn't hesitate at all and directly stabbed Wing's heart with one hand. At this moment, Ohm's eyes shrank rapidly, and he opened the pocket in his hand casually. Incredible pocket. The ability is probably similar to that of the Inbi Sowl, but it cannot put the enemy in it, which is considered to be an ability with no combat power. But because it does not have combat ability, the corresponding storage ability is very strong. A ball of blue liquid flew out of his pocket. When Kyo saw this thing, he stopped moving immediately and raised his hand to catch the water glass. He was even stunned for a moment. Is this thing water glass? 17, one of the 7 beauties in the world. Isn't it something in a crystal state? Why does it look like a ball of liquid? This thing is too abstract. Even Lucci thought that water glass, one of the 7 beauties in the world, should be in the form of some kind of crystal. In fact, the real form is liquid. It has to be put into a glass container. When the form is fixed, you can see the blue color like the sea. So it is called one of the 7 beauties in the world. Its value is not just that it can make people see beautiful colors. Kyo looked at the water glass in the air with full concentration, but did not put down Wing in his hand, but kicked Wing in the abdomen. Let Wing fly out like a cannonball. A mouthful of blood spit out. Wing was basically half dead, and Ohm, who saw this scene, was furious. The damn guy actually didn't keep his promise. He had already handed over the things, but this guy still killed him. However, the peeling Lev behind him was staring at him the whole time. When Ohm made a move, he immediately took action. Grabbed Ohm's shoulder. Hey, don't move. Joe caught the water glass in the air with one hand, but because it was in the form of liquid, it slipped directly from his fingers. Seeing this scene, Ohm sneered in his heart. Why do these guys think they want him to carry the water glass? Without a container, it is absolutely impossible to catch the water glass. Suddenly, a white crystal flashed at this moment. Peeling Lev was startled. What was that, however? The next second, the white crystal flashed Rocky's figure, and the sword of the Wise King in his hand pierced directly into Joe's chest. At the same time, 2 purple bullets burst out with lightning, flying towards Zhao's direction at the same time. Rocky was slightly stunned. Silva made a move? It was the same time as him. Rocky quickly drew out the Xianwang sword, and the Fulong Wang sword flew out from behind him, spinning through the 2 purple bullets, and appeared directly on the other side through the phantom shift. After landing, he took a look at Wing's condition. He was not dead, but he was already seriously injured. He smiled helplessly. If it weren't for Wing today, the professional hunter of the manipulator wouldn't have been in such a difficult situation right from the start. Rocky raised his head. Boom! The explosion of the 2 purple bullets collided and spread directly, and the world was instantly swallowed by the bullets. Seeing this, Rocky had no choice but to squat down and pick up Wing, pushing him to the back to create a safe distance. Boom, boom. The energy fluctuations of the explosion spread, and the area within 10 meters around Joe was affected. Peeling Lev and Ohm also jumped away. When the dust and smoke cleared, only a part of Yin's body was left. The whole person was completely dead. Rocky turned his head to look to the other side. Silva, who was hiding behind a rock not far away, rushed straight towards Joe. Without any hesitation, he punched Joe, who was already a corpse, again. It seemed to ensure the death of the assassination target. Seeing this scene, Peeling Lev was stunned, because from the energy fluctuations released by Silva, his strength was very strong. Is this guy also the hunter escorting Shui Liuli? However, after Silva dealt with Joe, he looked back in Rocky's direction. He raised his hand to shake off the blood on his fist and walked slowly towards the distance. He didn't look at anyone else the whole time. The assassin who killed the target seemed to be completely indifferent to others. KR. Pilarev wanted to call Silva, but Silva suddenly turned his head and looked at him. The terrifying killing intent in his eyes suddenly released, which made Pilarev shut up and dare not say anything. Silva retracted his gaze and continued to walk forward. At this time, Ohm also used his ability to collect the water glass. The mental attack just now did not destroy the water glass. This thing exists in the frozen volcano all year round. As long as it is not an attack in a confined space, the water glass will hardly be affected. After Ohm put the things away, the first person he looked at was Rocky. He noticed Rocky's action of saving Wing just now. so he should not be an enemy. Rocky noticed Ohm's gaze and said, "Let's take him with us." Hearing this, Ohm was stunned and nodded. Everyone left, and now only Rocky and Pilarev were left. At this moment, Pilarev was also looking at Rocky. Little devil. Looking at Rocky's childish face, isn't this little devil with the scary man just now? 640 raised his hand and took out the Flying King bow. Rocky looked at Pilarev. Remember Kuruta tribe? Spider. Hearing these words, Pilarev looked back at the past and quickly remembered his actions a year ago. Kuruta tribe. So that's it. Are you here for revenge? At that time, Yuvajin said that there was a little devil who was very powerful and escaped from his hands. It seems that it was you. I didn't expect that I would be well known in the brigade. Rocky smiled. Yes, it's me. Since you still remember, I don't need to help you recall. I'll take you down now and reunite with Shalnark and Franklin. What? Pilarev was stunned. What did that guy say just now? Shalnark and Franklin? Did they die? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Although Shalnark's strength is good, it is hard to say if he was attacked by surprise, but Pilarev is very confident in Franklin's strength, and it is absolutely impossible for him to be killed easily. Swish! A blue arrow flew directly past Pilarev's body. It also cut the bandage on his body. The broken bandage began to untie. Rocky put the arrow again. Why don't you believe it? It doesn't matter if you don't believe it. Remember to repent when you go down. Swoosh! For blue light spots suddenly appeared and attacked. Chapter 93, The Third Spider in the Best Hunting Ground Puff. The arrows pierced through the flesh, and the sound of flesh tearing was heard. Peeling Lev had tried his best to dodge, but he was still hit by 2 arrows. Look up. Now Peeling Lev's eyes had no other emotions except surprise and fear. He didn't care much because of Rocky's appearance just now, but now the moment the attack broke out, he felt the breath of death. Whoosh! Before he finished a word, Rocky shot another arrow almost close to his face. Of course, Rocky didn't deliberately miss the target, but this guy dodged it. If he was half a beat slower, he would have lost half of his face. Although it's okay to make a hole in the body, it's even a good thing for Peeling Lev. After all, his ability is to rely on these strange sounds to attack. But at the moment, Rocky is at least 50 meters away from him. It's difficult for his sound attack to affect Rocky at this distance. Dancing his body at a certain strange frequency, a strange sound wave attack broke out. However, before the sound reached Rocky, the next second Rocky's body was instantly filled with a burning energy like a flame. The burning energy expanded and expanded until it was about 4 meters away from Rocky. Such a terrifying explosion of energy also showed how terrifying Rocky's energy was. At this moment, Peeling Lev stopped playing temporarily and looked at Rocky's Peeling Lev with his mouth wide open. His expression was very wonderful. With this level of energy, how old is this kid? How can he have such a magnificent energy? Even if a cow turned into a human, it would not be able to have such a large amount of energy. Peeling Lev couldn't figure it out. According to the information he had learned before, Rocky should be around 9 years old. How could a 9-year-old child have such a magnificent energy? This is unscientific. Even if he had been practicing mind since birth, it would never be so exaggerated. The blue arrow flew by again, and this time Peeling Lev retreated and rolled madly, dodging continuously. The ankle of his left leg was hit and a bloody wound was torn, and Rocky's mouth in the distance slightly raised. 7 shots are enough to hit you. In other words, if I attack 70 times, you'll be hit 10 times. Of course, it is impossible to calculate it this way, but it is almost the same. Rocky is now mainly using words to attack Peeling Lev's psychology. Let his psychological defense line break, so that the opponent's key power will be weaker. It is beneficial for Rocky to kill him quickly. Belief still has a great impact on the power of mind. Don't be complacent, kid. It is even more difficult to dodge Rocky's attack with a leg injury, and Peeling Lev quickly adjusted his state. He began to dance his body frantically again. However, just as he started to move, Rocky shot an arrow. It hit the opponent's arm accurately, but Lev did not stop because of the injury. Instead, he began to dance faster and more frantically. The surging ki around him weakened the power of Rocky's arrow. But since the opponent did not focus on defense, even if he focused on defense, he could not block Rocky's arrow. So the power was still very good. Strange sound wave attacks began to appear, spreading and sweeping towards Rocky. Want to withstand my attack and counterattack? Too crazy, Spider. This is a plain area. There is no shelter. Do you know what this is for none with long-range attack methods? Rocky smiled and said, "It's the best hunting ground. There is no shielding in the open area, and the sound cannot be rebounded, which will greatly weaken the power of the sonic attack. At the same time, as long as the distance is enough, Luoki's attack will not weaken because of the distance. If you insist, the power of Rocky's arrow will weaken after a few thousand meters. Really, even so, we have to try it and see if he can hold on to the end, or me." A strange voice sounded. Although the distance is quite far, and because of the terrain, the power of the sonic attack is weakened. But Rocky still felt a little affected, and a feeling of dizziness appeared. Rocky squinted his eyes and locked the target, and shot several arrows again. One arrow was dodged, and the rest all hit Leviticus. While instantly repelling the opponent, he also interrupted his performance. "I told you, you have no chance here. Pull the bow." The flashing cross light is bigger than before, like a huge cross slowly flashing and rotating. The next second, Rocky released the string. The arrow shot out directly like a blue meteor and hit the square of Peeling Leviticus. It hit Peeling Lev's chest. The arrow passed through his chest. While tearing a big hole, blood gushed out. Peeling Lev's face turned pale instantly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Suddenly, he opened his mouth, as if attacking Lucci with the sound coming out of his mouth. As he opened his mouth, the arrow went straight through his mouth. Peeling Lev stared at Rocky, who was like a small black dot in the distance, with his eyes wide open. He couldn't dodge such a fast attack, and he had no spare energy to fight back. Even if he wanted to play the battle music Jupiter and hit Rocky directly, Rocky would not give him any time to play. In the past, enemies who faced him wanted to stay away from him because of the sound wave attack. But in fact, it is necessary to actively attack him and interrupt his performance. This is the best solution. And when facing Rocky, he didn't even need to approach him. He could use super fast and super strong long-range attacks to directly solve him. Damn it! Puff! An arrow pierced his left shoulder, and his left arm lost consciousness. Puff! This time, it was the right hand's turn. The left knee and right knee followed. Then his neck and heart were hit at the same time. At the moment of falling, an arrow, Ma Qian Zhao, pierced his forehead directly, and an arrow shot his head. When Peeling Lev fell, his brain still had a little last thought. If it was another place, if it wasn't such an open field, it would definitely not be so easy to be killed by this little ghost. Puff! The fallen Peeling Lev had no breath. The Flying King bow broke from Rocky's hand and returned to Rocky's side again. Remember to repent when you go down. This is the third spider, but also took up a lot of time. I don't know if I will have a chance to continue hunting other spiders. If these spiders gather together, Rocky wants to fight a group of them, but he has not had the experience yet. A group of none who work together are very scary, even if their none energy is not as strong as mine. Just like Menthitheupi of the Chimera Ant, even if he has the strength to crush his opponent, he is still fooled. Rocky doesn't want that. Chapter 94. Action suspended. Unexpected encounter. Okay, who's next? Rocky smiled. The original purpose of this operation was just to see all the Phantom Troop members with their own eyes. In this way, relying on the power of the Fei Wong Bao in the future, he can easily find all the members of the brigade. Kill them. He only wanted to collect some interest first. If he could kill one member of the brigade, it would be worthy, and if he killed two, it would be a profit. But now it seems that there is a chance to wipe out the brigade. Of course, Krallo may not be easy to deal with, but it seems that there is no problem to kill the other members of the brigade. As long as they don't gather together, Rocky has confidence. One-on-one battle, or one-on-two, Rocky thinks he can try. There are 3 groups left: Krallo and Minying, Phaeton and Maki, Finks and Paknoda. That's the natural choice. Finks and Pacnota. This group seems to be the weakest no matter how you look at it. Rocky determined the direction and activated the floating shadow ability again, rushing towards the direction he had confirmed before. Meanwhile, Krallo and Minning have also caught up with Biscuit. Although Biscuit is very fast, Krallo and Minning have successfully intercepted her. They're all experts, and Biscuit still maintains her lowly posture, not showing her terrifying King Kong Barbie state. So it is normal to be caught up. 150, but Krallo felt something strange when he saw the other party for the first time. The little girl in front of him, who looked harmless, seemed to give him a sense of oppression. This sense of oppression did not come from thoughts. It was the other party's eyes, which were the eyes that only those who had experienced hundreds of battles and countless bloody trials could have. The other party has very rich combat experience. How could a little girl? Biscuit had no intention of running away at all, but just wanted to keep the battle site as far away from others as possible to prevent the enemy's companions from coming to support. At the same time, she didn't want her other form to be seen by too many people. "Leader, leave it to me. This girl," Minning said coldly. Krallo nodded. Of course, there was no problem. It was best to test the opponent's ability through the shadow. Beep, beep, beep. At this moment, when the battle was about to start, Krallo's phone suddenly rang. He frowned. During the operation, other people should not think of calling him unless it was necessary. "Hello, pick up the phone." Kubi's voice came from the other end of the phone. The other party, BHCG, panted and said, "Captain, Franklin is dead." Krallo's expression suddenly became extremely calm. Franklin was dead. As a member of the brigade when it was first established, Franklin meant a lot to the brigade. "Captain, I have fought with Yuvajin and Nabinaga. The situation is not good. The one who attacked is a little devil. The one from the Kuruta tribe. Is the little devil of the Kuruta tribe for revenge? Wait, that little devil was able to kill Franklin? Shalnark is also dead. That guy also fought with Nabinaga, and Nabinaga's right arm was cut off by that guy. Now we are facing 2 professional hunters and a large group of soldiers. The situation is not good. That little devil disappeared and went to your side. Captain, you have to be careful." After saying that, Kubi was about to hang up the phone, but at this time, Krallo suddenly frowned. "Wait." He looked up at Biscuit in front of him. Biscuit was also a little confused. This person's face became very ugly. Did something happen? Minning let her go. However, Minning was stunned when he heard this, but still chose to obey the order. And Biscuit thought for a moment. Is there any conspiracy to let him go? But since this guy doesn't fight, then there is no need to waste time. Biscuit turned around and left without any hesitation. Seeing Biscuit leave, Krallo confirmed one thing, that the little devils of the Kuruta tribe were not in the same group as these professional hunters. This guy seemed to have learned the news from somewhere else, so he played the mantis catching the cicada and the oriole behind. The goal of this group of professional hunters is also very clear, just to protect Shuei Lioli. So they don't care about other things, and they don't have the intention to kill the members of the brigade. "Kubi," Krallo said softly, "tell Yuvajin and Nabinaga that the operation is aborted and bring back the bodies of Shalnark and Franklin." After that, he hung up the phone and sent a message to the other members. The operation is aborted, and those who received it will reply to the message. Featon and Maki looked at each other, and then looked at Hunter, who was about to be caught by the 2 of them. There was no choice but to let him go. The leader's order was above everything else. Since the leader made such an order, it meant that something else happened. On the other side, Krallo stared at the phone. Basically, 5 seconds after the message was sent, the message from Featon and Maki came. It means that Featon and Maki are fine, at least for the time being. But I waited for a long time. About 30 seconds passed, and Finks and Pacnata still didn't reply to the message. This means that the 2 were really fighting fiercely and couldn't even reply to the message, or they didn't have time to look at the phone at all. On the other side, Peeler, Lev, and Joe didn't reply to the message at all. That kid has probably already found one of the 2 teams. Krallo looked up in the direction of Peeling Lev, but of course he couldn't see anything because the distance was too far. Minning, go to the direction of Finks and Pacnata. Let me know immediately if there is any news. He then headed directly in the direction of Peeling Lev. However, Krallo suddenly stopped while moving in the direction of Peeling Leviticus. A man was walking slowly in the distance. The moment their eyes met, cold sweat broke out on Krallo's forehead. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The other party suddenly took a step and continued to walk forward. Krallo stopped where he was and let the other party walk by him. This man was a top master in terms of none and comprehensive combat ability, and he was far from being his opponent now. What purpose does the other party have for such a master to appear in this place at this time? The fact that he has no intention to attack him shows that he has already achieved a certain purpose and has no interest in him. He is obviously not a companion of the Kuruta kid, nor a companion of Hunter. The third force, coming to the position of Peeling Lev, he looked at Peeling Lev on the ground with arrows piercing his body, and Joe, who was directly hit and seriously injured and had his head smashed by a punch. These were killed by two different Nun. Joe's miserable condition reminded Krallo of the previous man, while Peeling Lev Ming on the other side was different. Beep, beep. The phone rang again. Krallo picked up the phone. Captain, that kid. Here, Chapter 95. Confrontation with the spider's natural enemy at Fink's place. Krallo frowned. Very good. I'll be there right away. He hung up the phone. And now, Fink's location. Finks covered his right hand and looked at the wound on his arm that was cut by a knife, which was constantly bleeding. He simply pulled off his sleeve and bandaged the wound to prevent death from excessive bleeding. Are you the kid from that time? The kid who fought with Yuvigin? Finks stared at Rocky. Just now. Just a minute ago. He was dealing with the professional hunter, and he had already taken the advantage. He only needed the last blow to deal with the opponent, and then let Paknata search the opponent's memory. Find out the specific location of Shuelioli. However, when he locked onto the opponent and seized the opportunity to give a fatal blow to save the day, a white light flashed, and a strange white crystal floated, accompanied by the flash of a knife. It attacked his neck directly, and at this moment, Finks quickly blocked it with his arm. His neck was not cut, but his arm was stabbed. After seeing the other person clearly, he was even more surprised. It turned out to be a little ghost. Finks didn't know who this little ghost was. Paknota on the side reminded him that this little ghost was the one he met in the Kuruta tribe a year ago. Paknota knew Rocky's appearance by reading Yuvigin's memory. Originally, due to some reasons, the brigade could no longer pursue that matter. But now the other party appeared again, which surprised Paknota very much. And what was even more surprising was that the other party's ability just now was so fast. She was responsible for observing the surroundings and helping to suppress Hunter, but she didn't notice how Rocky suddenly appeared. The sneak attack was able to almost kill Finks. This strength is completely different from a year ago. Rocky didn't feel it was a pity that the sneak attack failed. After all, Finks is also a very strong Nun. However, Rocky sighed and should have chosen to sneak attack Paknota first. But the best effective sneak attack is of course the first time. The second time is useless. So Rocky chose to take a big gamble. If he could kill Finks with one blow, then it would be much easier to fight against Noda. Unfortunately, it didn't go as he wished. A first class then should not be underestimated. Are you here for revenge? Finks looked at Rocky, who was injured by such a little kid's sneak attack. He was furious and rushed forward to grab Rocky directly. But Rocky's next move made Finks know what a monster is. Rocky was not afraid of close combat, although he was at a disadvantage in terms of body shape. After all, Rocky's height determined his arm span. The range that his fists could reach in close combat was naturally not as good as that of the opponent. But even so, Rocky's attack was not inferior at all. Relying on the sword of the wise king, he left several wounds on Finks in a short fight. These wounds were not deep and the damage was not high, but they shocked Finks. This kid is so strong. Finks punched Rocky with one hand, and at the same time, Rocky caught him with one hand, and his mental energy flowed quickly, leaving a wound on his shoulder with the sword. At the same time, Finks kicked back, and Rocky grabbed the opponent's fist and jumped up and turned his body. After the rotation accelerated, the punch hit the opponent's foot hard. Finks was directly repelled. After landing, he jumped and rushed towards Finks, and the moment when the long sword was swung, the two figures crossed. Fink's abdomen and waist were injured by Rocky's long sword. Quick action, strong power. The mental energy was powerful and amazing. It made Fink's, a nun-enhancer, unable to resist it at all. The two distanced themselves, and it was Fink's who took the initiative to distance themselves. Feeling the injuries on his body, Fink's expression became more and more ugly. The hunter on the side saw Rocky suddenly appear and took the initiative to fight with his opponent. Hunter, who didn't know Rocky, thought for a moment and fled decisively. Rocky was left alone to face Fink's and Paknada at the same time. The battle after that was very tense. Rocky was 1-on-2, one ranged and one close combat. There was no chance to kill one instantly, and he was about to concentrate his strength to kill Fink's first. Another wave of mind energy appeared, the fourth shadow of the brigade. The shadow rushed over while talking on the phone. Rocky heard what the shadow said on the phone. He also stopped. When the shadow arrived, the three faced Rocky. In this situation, it was difficult to kill in a short time. Even if the opponent found an opportunity to return to the sky, Rocky might not be able to withstand it. The will to fight was gone. However, Rocky didn't plan to leave immediately, but wanted to wait a while, at least to meet the man before leaving. Soon Krallo also arrived. When Krallo arrived, Rocky and the three were confronting each other. The three did not attack Rocky casually, because the thoughts lingering around Rocky were too amazing. Fink's, Face Shadow, and Paknada all felt a huge pressure, and they were not sure what Lonran would become. So as long as Rocky didn't leave, they didn't need to take the initiative to attack. "It's you." The first sentence Krallo said after arriving made Rocky slightly stunned. "You don't seem to have seen me." Rocky frowned, but Krallo didn't explain anything. "You killed Pilarev, didn't you?" Rocky nodded and said, "Yes, and Shalnark and Franklin." Krallo said it calmly, but Fink's and others couldn't calm down at this moment. "Pilarev is dead. Franklin and Shalnark are also." Fink's looked at Rocky in surprise. "This kid has killed 3 members of the brigade." Paknada's expression was solemn. Franklin's strength was not weak, but he was killed by this kid. Mianing was also a little surprised. "Did Pilarev die too?" 3 people were killed in one operation. This has never happened before. After getting Rocky's confirmation, Krallo could be sure that Rocky did not kill Joe. After all, Joe's injuries were completely different. Recalling the way Pilarev died, his limbs were pierced and directly disabled, and his neck, heart, and brain were all pierced. Such an attack is not only to kill the opponent, but more like a judgment of the enemy. If it is just to kill a person, giving a fatal blow is enough, and such an attack method is obviously confident and has other very strong emotions. This emotion is probably hatred. "Boy, you are here for revenge. I gave the order. If you want revenge, you should kill me." Hearing this, Rocky nodded. "Of course you will die too, Krallo Le Silfer. Then I will give you a chance. I will find a place where you can fight me fairly in a month. How about it?" "Humph." Rocky laughed. "Ridiculous suggestion." At this time, 2 other figures came from a distance. They should be Phaeton and Maki. Is Krallo waiting for the members of the brigade to arrive? However, Rocky does not plan to stay any longer and is ready to leave. But there is one more thing I want to say before I leave. Spiders. Don't think you are the only ones who know how to hide in the dark. Starting today, spiders have natural enemies. I advise you not to be alone, otherwise, I will kill you all one by one. Kill them. Boom. The terrible killing intent burst out instantly. At this moment, it seemed as if the sky had dimmed a little. Chapter 96 Ability Modification Hunting ends feeling the terrifying killing intent. At this moment, a very strong thought emerged in Krallo's heart. "We must kill this kid here." In 1 year, he was able to grow from being no match for Uvagin to being able to kill 3 brigades in a row. It goes without saying how terrifying the talent of such a kid is. If he continues to be allowed to grow, then sooner or later the brigade will go. Kill him. When Krallo said this, he instantly opened the thief's secret book, but the book had just appeared and was still turning. Rocky had already jumped up, and his mind was focused on his feet. Rocky jumped up instantly. The height of the jump was probably as high as 50 or 60 meters. This height made the members of the brigade stunned, but they didn't understand what Rocky was doing. And the next second, a white 767 light suddenly flashed and Rocky disappeared. Krallo looked at the sky. He didn't see clearly how Rocky disappeared just now. What kind of ability is this? At this time, Phaeton and Maki arrived. Before they had time to ask what was going on, they saw Krallo's expression suddenly become a little angry. For so many years, since the meteor streak came out, they have never seen the captain show this expression again. No matter what happens, the captain is always calm as always. But today, the captain actually showed an angry expression. The members were very surprised, especially Phaeton and Maki. They didn't know what happened. They just received the news from Krallo and rushed here, and even let go of the professional hunter who was supposed to be caught by them. Phaeton had just opened his mouth, and Krallo said directly, "This mission failed. Shui Liuli doesn't need to worry about it. Jin goes back to find Jin and Nobunaga." What? Give up just like that? Phaeton and Maki didn't quite understand, but now didn't seem to be the time to ask. Although this is not the first time the brigade has failed in a mission, when the mission failed in the past, it was usually due to the brigade itself. Either the target person was killed or the target item was destroyed. That led to the failure of the mission. But this time was different. The mission failed without getting the mission item. Krallo had turned around and was ready to leave. Phaeton and Maki were still confused when Paknada came to them. "Franklin, Shalnark, the peeling column is dead. The mission is over. Let's go back to support Yuvigin and the others." Paknada turned around and felt heavy. The brigade can't lose anyone anymore. All the members went to support Yuvigin and Nobunaga. Somewhere not far away, Rocky looked at the direction the brigade was going and gave up the idea of taking the opportunity to kill Nobunaga and Yuvigin. The brigade was not slow, and it would not take long to support Yuvigin. Rocky would not have enough time to kill the two. There was no point in going now. Anyway, the interest has been collected almost completely. Cut off 3 legs of the spider and save the rest. I will collect it later. The most important thing now is the success rate of the guiding arrow under the actual eyelid. Rocky has seen all the members of the brigade with his own eyes. Can the guiding arrow successfully guide Rocky to find them now? I tried a little. When Rocky pulled the flying king bow and released the white guiding arrow, the arrow shattered as soon as it was shot out. This made Rocky a little disappointed. It seems that just seeing someone in person is not enough. There is no way to successfully launch the guidance arrow. The key is still to need items. Think carefully when looking for gold. I used a piece of fishing line. In other words, if I get something that the other party has used, I should be able to successfully release the guidance sieve. Otherwise, I will continue to try to release it based on probability. If I have seen someone in person, the success rate should be able to reach 50%. If I know a little more about the other party, the success rate can be increased a lot. However, if it is not 100%, it seems that it is not easy to successfully release it. Scratching his head, Rocky suddenly slapped his forehead and said, "It can be modified. Hasn't the new information column come out? And it is a special information column for abilities. In this case, it is better to modify the abilities directly. Open, mind ability, phantom shift, expandable. Phantom sword, expandable. Teleport mark, expandable. King's power, expandable. Unsupplemented power, expandable." This is the current situation of Rocky's ability information. However, Rocky has not checked these expandable contents before. The expanded contents are nothing more than the specific effects of each ability, the introduction of the ability, etc. What Rocky wants to modify is the guidance arrow of the Flying King Bow, so he can expand the Phantom Sword. Phantom Sword, Sword of the Wise King, Yiksha King Sword, Fulong King Sword, Flying King Bow, Holy King Staff. The materialized Phantom Swords each have different abilities. All Phantom Swords can be controlled remotely, and the control power of different weapons will change. Floating Shadow. With the power of the Phantom Sword, the host can fly. The flight is divided into 2 types, physical and phantom flight. This is the 5 weapons all of Rocky's Phantom Swords are now available. The Floating Shadow ability is a derivative ability developed from the Phantom Sword ability. Click on the Flying King's Bow directly. Flying King's Bow can release 3 different arrows to attack: guiding arrow, annihilation arrow, must-hit arrow, guiding arrow. According to the information the host has, increase the probability of the guiding arrow successfully finding the target. Once successfully launched, no matter where the target is or how far away it is, it will definitely be found. Just looking at this description, the effect is still very good, but the conditions seem very general. All Rocky has to do is modify the conditions. After thinking about it, Rocky made a new modification: guiding arrow. Any sound that the host has seen or heard, or items that the other party has used, can be used to launch the guiding arrow to find the target. No matter where the target is or how far away it is, it will definitely be found. I look at the new changes in 5.1. Rocky felt that this ability was what he wanted. However, are you sure to modify it? Estimated modification time: 1,550 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Does it take so long to modify? This is just the time required for modification. After the modification, you need to wait for the modification again. It will probably take quite a while. Rocky frowned. If that's the case, there's no need to modify this ability. Finding people is not a necessary ability. Instead of modifying the ability to find people, it's better to modify a more perverted nun. There are other ways to find people besides relying on abilities. Forget it. Let's do it later. Go find Kate first. Rocky looked back at the forest area. Next time, I will definitely kill you all. The hunt is over. Chapter 97. Subsequent arrangements. Finding Hisoka, Krallo looked at Yuvijin, who was covered in blood. There was also Nobinaga, who was pale and had lost an arm. Maki came to Nobinaga's side as soon as possible, wanting to sew up Nobinaga's arm. But when she started, she suddenly found that there was a strong aura left in Nobinaga's wound. This aura may not dissipate in a short time. In other words, Nobinaga's arm suture may. Maki looked back at Krallo and shook her head helplessly. Krallo was still calm, and then looked at Kubi, who was covered in wounds. Kubi didn't have much fighting ability, so it was very difficult for him to survive. Captain, I'm going to find that guy. I want to pay Franklin and Shalnark. Yuvijin roared, and Phaeton and Finks, who were responsible for dealing with the soldiers in the back, looked down. It was the first time I saw Yuvijin yelling at the captain. This tone would never appear on Yuvijin before, especially when he was talking to the captain. However, the captain who heard this just looked up at Yuvijin calmly. Yuvijin, do you think you were a match for that kid? Hearing this, Yuvijin immediately raised his fist and said, I can kill that damn kid with one punch. 17. Look at Nobinaga. You know his strength. As a member of the Suicide Squad, you should know his strength very well. The opponent can cut off one of Nobinaga's arms in a short time without getting hurt. Do you think you can really deal with him with your own strength? Thinking back to what Rocky said when he left, the captain's face became more and more solemn. His last challenge, Rocky did not accept it. It means that there is no honor in Rocky's eyes, or in other words, Rocky is not flat. What he wants is to kill all the people in the brigade, even by any means. After seeing the entities of Franklin and Shalnark, Franklin is fine, but Shalnark was killed by a sneak attack. Although he has much more power than Shalnark, he still chose this sneak attack. This just shows that the kid is a very cautious guy who won't take risks easily. He won't show up without full confidence, and the other party is determined to hide in the dark. And this situation is not good for the Kai Brigade. There's no problem if they don't separate, but the people in the brigade can't stay apart. Captain, are we just going to let it go? Yuvijin thought about it and said unwillingly, Forget it. How is it possible? Krallo looked at everyone and said, One way. Go back to Meteor Street. Don't leave Meteor Street in the next few years. It's not the base of the brigade. If the other party really dares to set foot in Meteor Street, they will definitely be noticed at the first time. At that time, it will be a plate of meat that is delivered to the door. However, after Krallo's order was issued, everyone had only one feeling, that is, aggrieved. Very aggrieved. They were actually scared back to their hometown by a little kid and couldn't go out. Yuvijin clenched his fist tightly, veins on his forehead bulged, and his eyes stared at Krallo, but he didn't explode in the end. Everyone was silent. Just at this moment, someone walked towards the group of people in the warmest way. Of course, this person couldn't be Rocky or Kate. At this moment, Rocky had found Kate and walked with Kate to the next city. Returning to the previous city and then leaving might leave too many clues. If the people in the group found out, it would be troublesome. So Rocky and Kate walked directly to the next city and then left by the city's transportation. Of course, it takes a lot of time to walk to the next city. During the time on the road, Rocky was also thinking about what he needed to do next. It is necessary to monitor the actions of the brigade, and at the same time, he must find Uncle Yu in Kurapika and try to find them. At the same time, he must carefully study the new modified rules. In this battle, Rocky also felt some flaws in his abilities, and flaws are simply too good for Rocky. Once discovered, he can make changes. To make his abilities more perfect is also to make himself stronger in disguise. Along the way, 7 days. But Rocky did not feel slow at all, but felt that time passed quickly. Arriving in another city, Pei-Ki looked at Kate. This is Jin's location. Although it is not 100% guaranteed that Jin is still here, it should still be here if nothing unexpected happens. Hearing this, Kate glanced at the address and smiled. So that's it. Jin must be here. Rocky was stunned for a moment. Are you so sure? Kate nodded. Because Mr. Jin mentioned this place in the clues, he left me. Okay. It seems that Jin is probably still waiting for Kate's arrival at the ruins. However, Kate's way of finding Jin is obviously different from before. I don't know if Jin is satisfied with Kate like this. Kate looked at Rocky. What are you going to do next? My business with Spider is not over yet. Are you going to continue chasing them? Rocky shook his head. That's not the case, but I don't think they will be separated in a short time. Okay, I won't ask you any more questions. I hope everything goes well for you. Kate has gained a lot of experience by working with Rocky, and at the same time, she feels more dissatisfied with her own strength. She must become stronger as soon as possible. After sending Kate away, Rocky did not choose to leave the city, but took out a card from his waist. This 553 card was Hisoka's before. When Hisoka attacked Rocky and Kate, Rocky took a card. At that time, I just thought it was just in case. If Hisoka was needed, I could go find Hisoka at that time. I didn't expect this day to come so soon. After meeting and having the card used by Hisoka, it is not difficult to find Hisoka. The guiding arrow was successfully launched. Following the direction of the arrow, it was found that Hisoka seemed to be moving. Because the front of the arrow was constantly shifting, although the speed was not too fast, the opponent was indeed moving and in the air. It should be on the airship. Rocky disappeared the next second, and a white light appeared in the sky and flew away. A few hours later, Rocky suddenly appeared on the deck of an airship. The guests who were watching the scenery were stunned for a moment, rubbing their eyes, thinking that they were dazzled. Rocky went directly into the airship and then came to the restaurant of the airship, looking at Hisoka, who was playing cards in the corner. The moment Rocky came in, Shisu also noticed Rocky. He stared at Rocky with his eyes. This time Rocky walked straight towards him, and Hisoka smiled immediately. But that perverted smile made Rocky speechless. It seemed that Hisoka was a perverted SX maniac, and Rocky had not yet fully adapted to Hisoka's expression. Chapter 98, Hisoka's battle agreement, is reached. He sat down in front of Hisoka. Hisoka looked at Rocky in front of him. Is it an unexpected meeting, or did you specifically look for me? Hearing this, Rocky smiled. Do you think there are so many coincidences? Hisoka. Hearing Rocky say his name, Hisoka smiled. It seems that you should have found my information. Not bad. This speed is very fast. What do you want to do with me? Challenge. The person who wants to challenge shouldn't be Rocky. It should be Hisoka. Rocky shook his head. I want you to help me. Maybe it will suit your taste. Oh. Hisoka was a little curious. With the friendship between the two, he was not at the point where he could just ask for help casually. Do you want to join Phantom Troop? Hearing this, Hisoka narrowed his eyes slightly. Phantom Troop? Why do you ask that? Their leader, Krallo, Lucifer, is a very strong man. You should be very interested. Hisoka looked at Rocky carefully, observing Rocky's face, skin, and bones. In his heart, he was constantly reasoning that Rocky was indeed just a kid now. He was so strong at such an age, and he investigated me so clearly, even knowing my hobbies and interests. What was the origin of this kid? So, Rocky looked at Hisoka, and his reaction was a little strange. He appeared in that city before, so he might have met the Phantom Troop by chance. Then he would find a way to join the brigade first. Now that he took the initiative to mention Hisoka, his performance was too calm. Didn't he meet the members of the brigade? Because of him, could it be that Hisoka didn't meet the people of the Phantom Troop at all, and naturally there would be no Hisoka wanting to join the brigade to challenge the leader? However, Rocky felt something was wrong. Even if he didn't meet, Hisoka didn't seem to show the interest he should have in Krallo. Even if he hadn't seen him, but Rocky said he was very strong, wouldn't Hisoka be curious about how strong he was? Thinking of this, Rocky suddenly looked at Hisoka. You have joined the brigade, right? Hearing this, Hisoka's eyes shrank slightly, and he looked at Rocky and smiled. Why do you say that? Don't lie, Hisoka. You have joined the brigade, right? Hisoka smiled and looked at Rocky with a look that seemed to have confirmed it, so there was no need to lie. So what? Since you have joined the brigade, it won't be strange to know Krallo. You want to challenge him, right? Hisoka didn't speak, just looked at Rocky. But you are alone, and the brigade is a group of people. It's basically impossible to find a chance to be alone with that person. Speaking of this, Rocky paused. Unless someone makes the brigade a mess, then you have a chance. I have some conflicts with that brigade. If you provide me with information, I will make the brigade a mess and create an opportunity for you to be alone with that man. Now Hisoka is a little curious about what the conflict between Rocky and the brigade is. You said these things to a member of the brigade. Do you think I won't tell the leader what you said? Ha ha. Rocky leaned back against the backrest of the chair. You won't. Why? Are you considered a member of the brigade? Hisoka. Hisoka stared at Rocky and sighed for a long time. Why not? I have officially joined the brigade. That's what they think. Do you think you were a spider? This made Hisoka unable to answer. He never thought of himself as a spider, nor did he think he was a member of any force or organization. What do you think? Are you interested in my proposal? Hisoka frowned and thought about it for a while. If he refused or agreed, it would not have much impact on Hisoka. Even without anyone's help, Hisoka is confident that he can find a chance to be alone with Krallo and kill that man. But the problem is now, Hisoka is also very interested in Rocky. Okay, but there is one more condition. Rocky also expected that he would take the initiative to propose new conditions. After all, this man is Hisoka, and he can't be fooled by a few words. The reason why he came to Hisoka was that he thought Hisoka would be interested in his proposal. What conditions? Rocky asked. Hisoka looked at Rocky and said, "Fight a battle with me. Whether you win or lose, I can provide you with information about the Phantom Troop. Of course, it is limited to what I know. I will not take the initiative to inquire about their information. This is natural. If Hisoka takes the initiative to inquire about the information of the brigade, it will make the brigade suspicious. Think about it." While Rocky was thinking, Hisoka looked at Rocky and seemed to be hesitating and decided to add a little chip. "If you agree, I can tell you a piece of news about the brigade right now. Although this news is not critical, you should be interested." "What news?" Hisoka looked at Rocky. "Does this count as agreement?" "Agree, but you have to wait. It may take a month or half a year. I need to perfect my abilities." Rocky looked at Hisoka. "I will fight you after I perfect my abilities. Do you want to wait?" Hearing this, Hisoka's eyes lit up. "No problem. I will wait for you no matter how long it takes." For Hisoka, being able to fight against a stronger opponent is the most interesting thing. But this time Hisoka does not expect to kill Rocky directly. Instead, he first understands Rocky's abilities and then finds a chance to assassinate Rocky. "Then tell me about your news." Rocky looked at Hisoka. "The leader ordered everyone to return to Meteor Street, but I didn't go. After all, I just joined the brigade, and no one knows me, so I was asked to collect some information outside. The most important thing is to collect information about the Kuruta tribe." Hisoka looked at Rocky and said, "You are not from the Kuruta tribe, are you?" This was just a casual question from Hisoka. However, Rocky's reaction made Hisoka excited, because Rocky did not answer immediately, but his face changed slightly. I guessed it. I didn't expect that I would guess it right after saying it casually. The kid in front of him is a Kuruta tribe member, and the brigade asked him to investigate the Kuruta tribe outside. The conflict between the Kuruta tribe and the Phantom Troop seems to be very big. At this moment, Rocky frowned and thought. The brigade's return to Meteor Street is not good news for Rocky. Did they say how long we'll stay? Hisoka shook his head. Good. Nothing else. That means it's probably impossible for the members of the brigade to leave Meteor City easily, unless there's some action that must be carried out. It seems that it may take a long time to deal with the remaining members of the brigade. Rocky stood up and said, "Then even if our cooperation is settled, remember to notify me if there's any news." He gave Hisoka a contact number, and at the same time Rocky said, "It'll be at most half a year, and I'll duel with you no matter if I have perfected my abilities completely by then." "Where's the location?" Hisoka asked. "You go." Hisoka thought for a moment. "Then how about the Sky Arena in half a year?" "Okay." As he said that, Rocky had already walked out of the restaurant and came directly to the deck under the gaze of Hisoka. Rocky jumped out directly, and Hisoka was stunned when he saw this scene. This place is thousands of meters high. If you jump down directly like this, even the most powerful nun will fall to death. This kid. Chapter 99. Rich Bartra's employment invitation after leaving the airship. Rocky prepared to return to Greedy Island directly. There is no place more secret than Greedy Island. It will definitely not be found by the people of the brigade. After the people of the brigade returned to Meteor Street, they would definitely try their best to find Rocky's information. Anywhere there is surveillance, the other party may find it. So the safest place, and the place where you will not be disturbed, should be Greedy Island. It is also very simple to return to Greedy Island. Just find a game of Greedy Island and reinsert your data card. Before, Rocky left Greedy Island not for a short time, but directly left by pulling out the data card. So now just go back to the position of the rich man and find an empty socket. 2 days later, Rocky successfully passed through several countries and went to the rich man's villa where he and Pyro came last time. But this time Rocky was stunned. The original Greedy Island game in the rich man's house was gone. Did it move? Or, because of my previous forced entry, this guy directly inserted the card slot into the game. This guy dared not leave the game of Greedy Island at home. I checked 980. It turned out that this guy sold the game of Greedy Island to a guy named Bartra. This name seemed familiar to Rocky, but he didn't take it seriously. The most important thing was to return to Greedy Island. Go and see how Pero's practice was going. It was not a big deal to ask about the location of such a rich man. Find Bartra's villa and sneak indirectly. With Rocky's skills, it was too easy to sneak in without anyone noticing. But this time Rocky felt it necessary to say hello. In order to avoid the trouble of going back in after coming out of Greedy Island next time, in the lobby of the villa, Bartra looked at Rocky in front of him. "Do you want to buy a game location?" Looking at the child in front of him, Bartra did not dare to underestimate him. Because the other party suddenly appeared in front of him, his villa had many guards and even some bounty hunters. In this case, the other party still came in easily, and it was quite terrifying to appear in front of him for a long time. Rocky nodded yes. "I want to enter the game and buy a position. You have many sets of Greedy Island games in your hand. I believe you have more than one vacant position." This is not wrong, but Bartra looked at Rocky in front of him. "Can you wait a moment? I want my consultant to come over." "Okay." Rocky sat down casually, but looking at Bartra's appearance, Rocky felt a little familiar. Soon when the so-called consultant came, Rocky suddenly remembered. Isn't this guy the rich man who bought all the Greedy Islands in Yukzinchijiang, and the employer of Gon and others later? And his consultant is Juezi Juela, the bounty hunter. Juezi Juela noticed Rocky as soon as he entered the door. Although Rocky was young, the aura of the golden air fluctuating around his body was faint but exuded. It made Juezi Juela feel very amazing. "This is my advisor." Rocky nodded. "It turns out to be Mr. Juezagila." Juezagila was stunned. "You know me?" "Professional bounty hunter. Mr. Juezjuela is also famous." It was a compliment to the other party. "Thank you for your compliment. I want to enter the game to buy a position. In fact, my employer, Mr. Buttra, is not short of money." Rocky nodded and said, "I know. So if you don't mind, Can you let me see your hair? Rocky smiled. No answer, but the next second Rocky's anger suddenly exploded, and the whole room began to emit a terrifying roar. The huge chandelier in the center of the hall also began to shake and flicker, seeing that it was about to fall down at any time. Juicy Jew LA's forehead was sweating, and he quickly smiled. Okay. So, after reading the post, can you buy a seat for me? Or are you willing to give me one? BHDD. Hearing this, Juicy Jula looked in the direction of Bartra and nodded gently. Bartra was also surprised to see this action. Although he knew that the other party might be very powerful, the fact that he could surprise Juicy Jula so much showed that the other party was not just as simple as having strength. Actually, it's like this. I don't know what this gentleman's name is. Bartra smiled and asked carefully. Rocky. Then Mr. Rocky, the position in the game is originally prepared for talented people, and you are obviously such a person. Bartra said with a look of embarrassment. But I want to break this game and get a reward in it. So this position is for me. Seeing this, Druzadilla on the side immediately spoke up. Mr. Bartra means that the position can be provided for free, and you can also pay Mr. Rocky a sum of money, which will definitely satisfy you. But I hope you can come together to break this game. Rocky smiled and said, I didn't enter Greed Island to break the game, but to meet my friends. I have no interest in breaking the game. Juizagila was a little surprised and thought Rocky was also a nun who wanted to break the game. Unexpectedly, Rocky just wanted to meet his friends. In fact, I can enter the game even if I don't tell you. It won't affect you too much if I take the data card away when I leave. I just say hello to you so that you won't be too surprised and it won't take up too much of your time. In simpler words, it's just a greeting to you, not to ask for your opinion. If you don't agree, you can try to stop at Rocky. Having seen Rocky's terrifying hair, Druzadilla didn't think he could stop Rocky at all. Batra looked at Druzadilla. As a hired man, Druzadilla could only bite the bullet and go up. Mr. Rocky, are you really not going to consider it? I can pay you 50 billion later. This number is definitely very attractive. After hearing this, Rocky wanted to refuse, but suddenly thought of something. He seemed to have no money. It seemed that buying game positions was just cheating the other party. And Rocky really needed to spend money. Thinking for a while, what are you doing to clear the game? Batros said quickly, there's a game prop in the game, which is called the Archangel's Breath. I want to get this game prop. The Archangel's Breath. Rocky remembered that Batra's lover seemed to be dying and needed this game prop to save his life. Want to save someone? Batla was stunned for a moment, but still nodded yes. No need to clear the game. I have the ability to heal people. If possible, let me try. How about exchanging for a game position? Really? Really? If you can cure her, all the Greed Island games here can be given to you. And even most of my wealth, no problem. This guy is still a romantic. Try it first. If it works, we can talk about other things. Chapter 100 Hunter. The world's strongest god of pure love, led by Bartra. The group came to the other side of the villa. The other side of this huge villa was a place that even Juizagila had never been to. After walking through a long corridor, they came to the door of a room. Bartra opened the door. A room that was not particularly large was filled with various instruments, and they were all the most advanced and sophisticated instruments. In another room, there were nurses and doctors on call 24 hours a day. They monitored the various characteristics of the girl lying on the bed. Coming to the bed, Juizagila frowned. Everything you have is for this girl? Bartra nodded. I've thought of all the methods, but none of them worked. I heard that in the game Greed Island, there's an item called Archangel's Breath, which can drive away all the pain. That's why I want to give it a try. Juizagila was shocked when he heard this. Is this your daughter? Or granddaughter? My lover. She is my lover. Rocky vaguely remembers the story of Batra and this girl. This girl did not covet Batra's money and did not want any of Batra's valuables. And she agreed with Batra that after dealing with the huge property, the two would find a place to live happily. But unfortunately, the girl never woke up after a car accident. For an illusory possibility, you paid so much wealth, is it worth it? Juizagila asked, but Batra suddenly turned his head and said, love cannot be measured by wealth. Looking at Batra in front of him, Although Rocky himself could not do such a thing, he still admired a pure love god of war. People who believe in love and give everything for it deserve respect rather than ridicule. Let me try. Rocky came to the front, but at this time Bartra looked at Rocky expectantly and seemed to be a little worried. But Bartra did not say it directly. But he turned his head to look at Druzadilla. Druzadilla also understood what Bartra meant and was about to speak. Suddenly a thought like a long sword appeared from Rocky's fingertips, and then turned into a sword and flowed slowly, just like the scissors in Gon's guessing game. The thought cut Druzadilla's face and left a wound on his face. Seeing this scene, Bartra was stunned for a moment, and just when he was about to speak, Rocky took out the Holy King's staff. As the Holy King's staff emitted light, the wound on Druzadilla's face healed quickly. Of course, Bartra could not see the light emitted by this thing, but Druzadilla could see it. This kind of vitality, so powerful, Druzadilla couldn't help but admire. Under normal circumstances, Nin people would not show their abilities to their peers. Rocky didn't care, which means that Rocky is not afraid of being targeted by others, or he has more than one ability. At the same time, it can be regarded as trust in Druzadilla. Is this a miracle? Batra stared at Druzadilla's face. The speed at which the wound healed was so fast that it made his heart beat faster. This is my ability, so there is no problem now. Druzadilla nodded at Batra. Batra made way for Rocky to walk over. He came to the bed and looked at the girl on the bed. She was a very beautiful and pretty girl, but now her condition is very bad. Rocky raised his hand and let go of the Holy King's staff. The Holy King's staff, floating in the air, came to the girl's chest. It emitted a sacred light, and the light enveloped the girl's whole body. The girl's pale skin was visible to the naked eye and had a rosy luster. Her breathing also began to become strong and powerful. The most excited person at this time was Bartra. His heart was about to rise to his throat. Is this successful? 10 minutes later, Rocky took back the Holy King's staff. During this process, neither Druzadilla nor Bartra said anything. Wait until Rocky finished releasing his ability. Druzadilla asked, "What's going on?" Although Rocky cured the girl, there's a high probability that his job will end, but the bounty hunter also has a conscience. No, sorry. Rocky looked at Bartra. How could it be? She is obviously much better. Looking at the girl on the bed, the radiant look at the moment is completely different from the dying look before. I just restored her body functions to a very healthy state. Rocky pointed to the instrument beside him and said, "Look, now all her body indicators have recovered, but I can't restore her consciousness." Batra's eyes dimmed a little, but he looked at Rocky and said, "But it is effective, right?" Rocky nodded. The effect is limited to helping her prolong her life. The body functions I helped her restore will gradually weaken. It can be regarded as allowing her to prolong her life in this state. It didn't have the effect Rocky imagined, which made Rocky feel that his ability was still a little imperfect, and he must modify it after going to Greed Island. It's already very good. It's already very good. Thank you, Mr. Rocky. You want the game location of Greedy Island. Just use it. At the same time, I am willing to pay you 1 billion as the treatment fee just now. Rocky waved his hand. No, my treatment did not wake her up. No. Bartra came directly in front of Rocky and looked at Rocky sincerely. I want to ask Mr. Rocky to come once a year to give her rehabilitation treatment, as long as her body functions remain in a very healthy state. I believe it will also help her recovery. And more importantly, this way she can hold on until Greedy Island is broken. At that time, she can be completely cured. As long as Mr. Rocky is willing, I will pay you 1 billion every year as treatment fees. Druzadilla on the side smiled. The girl did not reply. His work can continue. At the same time, with a nun like Rocky, he doesn't have to worry about the girl dying one day and the mission ending. Then he said, "Please agree." To be honest, Rocky also needs money. Glanced at Bartra. "If you want, I don't mind. It only takes about 10 minutes to come here once a year." "Thank you so much. You can arrange the next things for Druzadilla. I want to be alone with her for a while. I haven't seen her so energetic for a long time." Gee. Rocky and Juzajila came out of the room, looking at Juzajila beside him. So can I go to Greed Island now? Of course, I need to provide you with a data card and... No, I have it. Give me the account. I will transfer the money to your account. Rocky glanced at Juzajila. No, leave it where you are. Juzajila was stunned for a moment after hearing this. Although he knew that powerful nun didn't really care about money, this was too casual. 1 billion is just going to be spent on someone I just met? I'll ask you to do me a favor. Rocky said, use this billion to hire some people for me to find a man named Gao Yu. I'll draw his general appearance for you, but he may not know this name. And when you're looking for him, try to be low-key, okay? Find someone? Hire? No problem at all. Ju Zijula nodded. Sure. I won't refuse to hire anyone for a bounty hunter mission.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.